Okay, thank you. Good evening. This is the August 17th, 2016 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm going to read this to you because it involves how we proceed with public hearings, and there's a bunch of them tonight. So if you haven't been here before, you'll understand the process. And I want to thank you all, first of all, for attending this evening. For the benefit of those that have not been here before, I'm going to give you some process, how we handle the meeting. We first will read a legal notice as soon as I get finished with this for the public hearing portion of the meeting that was published in the local newspaper. Applicants will then be invited to come forward and present their case, explaining to the commission and to the public what is specifically being requested of the subject property. Written comments from town agencies pertaining to application will then be read into the record if the commission has received any. The commissioners then will ask questions of the applicants, and then it will be the public's turn. You will first be invited to ask questions about the application if you have any, and then after that we will go into a portion where people who are here who either support or oppose the application will have a chance to say why they're for it or against it. As this is a public hearing, it will be necessary for those coming forward to ask questions or to speak to come up front, please, and clearly state your name and address for the record and for the videograph. At the conclusion of all statements from the public and the applicant, I will close each portion of the public hearing. The applicant and the public are then free to leave or to remain for the balance of the public hearings. And at the regular meeting, which the commission will do after the public hearings, each application may be discussed and may be considered and voted on. The applicant, after the decision is made by the Planning and Zoning Commission, the applicant and or any aggrieved party with legal standing will have the right to appeal the decision made by this commission to the Superior Court within the statutory time frame if they so desire. All decisions reached at this meeting will be available to the public the next day by either visiting or calling the Planning and Zoning Office at 453-8039 after 9:30 in the morning. Seated this evening are the following commissions: Josh Hirschman, George Underhill, Tom Cost, Rich Meyer, Phil Johnson. His father's name is Paul. People from town staff are Reggie Reed and Lisa Brewer. Obviously, the videographer is Peter Schultz, who we've already mentioned. So, having done that, would you please read the public notice?
Legal notice for the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on August the 17th, 2016 at 7:30 at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, Monocatuck, room 2nd floor, for the following purposes. Gary Terwilliger, 1725 Little Meadow Road, map 97, lot 32, zone R8, special permit for accessory apartment and detached accessory structure, section 273-19. Town of Guilford, map 49 and 43, zone R3 and TS, coastal area management, creation of paved shoreline greenway trail from the Madison Town Line to the intersection of Route 146 and Boston Post Road, section 273-91. 86 Seaside Avenue, LLC, 86 Seaside Avenue, map 29, lot 119, zone R3, coastal area management, request to install prefabricated 12 by 16 shed, 273-91. William A. Young and Ronald Finocchio, 2 Saw Pit Road, map 34, lot 36A, zone R5, special permit coastal area management and site plan revision. Increase parking for auto repair shop and add office trailer and accessory structure for shedding source. I think it's shredding source. Business on the rear portion 273-91 and 273-47. Dennis Pacelli, 150 Rockland Road, map 118, lot 4A, zone R8, special permit, addition to existing garage, 273-19, 273-94. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the Office of Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. This hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, the 16th day of July, 2016. Tom Cost, Chairman, all yours.
Thank you. The Jonathan Lowe and Katrina Varzo, you did mention that. Is it because it's a second hearing?
They're on the agenda, but
Yeah, it's the second.
Second hearing,
so
okay,
they're
all right.
on that one.
And one has been withdrawn. Okay, first thing up then, we'll move to Town of Guilford, map 49 and 43, zone R3 and TS Coastal Area Site Management Plan, creation of paved shoreline greenway trail from Madison Town Line to the intersection of Route 146 and Boston Post Road. 273-91 is the pertinent regulation.
Good evening, my name is Mark Damiani from the Town of Guilford, and I'm here to present the design of a portion of the Shoreline Greenway Trail in Guilford. The Shoreline Greenway Trail, they have come up with a concept for a multi-use, non-motorized path from between New Haven and Hammonasset and Madison. And there have been some sections in some towns that have been built. This Shoreline Greenway Trail, this multi-use path, will be going, or is proposed to go through Guilford. And there have been several, or there has been some alignments discussed. One of the alignments was to come in from the Madison Town Line on the east side over Route 1 on the south side of the road, and then to veer down onto Boston's Route 146 all the way to Brantford. But the section that I'm here to present tonight is the section from the Madison Town Line to Route 146. That section, a while back, there was a public informational meeting on this section, and it's being funded by federal funds and private donations. This section of the Shoreline Greenway Trail, it's in, has to be reviewed by the state Connecticut Department of Transportation, and it's in the final design stages, and they're currently reviewing it right now, and we're waiting for comments back from them. This section of the Shoreline Greenway Trail is basically going to start from the Madison Town Line on the Guilford side of the bridge over the East River, and it's going to run on the south side of Route 1, entirely in the Route 1 right-of-way, until it gets to the intersection of Route 1 and Route 146. There it will terminate, and it will hook up with the, I guess there's sort of a bike path on the road. It's striped a couple feet wide, and there's a sign, green sign there that says a bike trail that runs down 146. This multi-use path is going to be about 10 feet in width, and it's going to be an asphalt surface with a stone 3/8-inch diameter chip seal on top of it. And like I said, it runs through the entire right-of-way. Let's see, there will be provisions for, it's going to cross Horseshoe Road at both of Horseshoe Road's intersections with Route 146. And at that point, there will be crosswalks installed, painted crosswalks, and there'll be stop signs on the trail to alert the users of the trail that they're crossing the road. The town has met with the abutting property owners of this section of the trail, and basically, as far as I know, they are fairly in agreement with the trail. Let's see, what else could I say? As far as the, it's basically going to be, in most areas, it's going to be somewhat elevated, so the any runoff from the trail is going to basically sheet flow. The portion at the beginning up in 146, it's a very large right-of-way, so there's a lot of grass area where the storm well will just run off. And down at then it does get steep. It'll go down along the pitch of Route 1, and then it will sort of flatten out again. As far as in terms of the coastal area management permit, this is the actual CAM line in Guilford where it crosses the path. So this is the lower leg of Horseshoe Road, or not lower leg, the east leg of Horseshoe Road near Madison. So about maybe 100 feet or so east of that, there's the CAM boundary. So the section beyond that to the East River, that's within the CAM boundary, and that's why we're here tonight. And this line here is the 100-foot cam setback. The pathway, or the multi-use path, will extend about, I don't know, 50, maybe, not quite 100 feet past the 100-foot setback, but at this point, it will be merging back onto the asphalt, the existing asphalt on Route 1. So there won't be any impact to any of the coastal resources or the river or the tidal wetlands down near the East River. This is definitely going to be all up above at grade with Route 1. And there will be sedimentation and erosion control devices set along. There'll be silt fencing pretty much along the upper leg of Horseshoe Road and all the way down between the lower leg Horseshoe Road. It's proposed that there'll be silt sacks put in all the catch basins along the road just to ensure that during construction there's no dirt or anything running into the catch basins. There'll be a tracking pad up near the beginning here where the right-of-way is very large, and there's sort of a lot of right-of-way here where they can have the contractors can have their staging area. It's proposed that if it gets through a final design, and then it's proposed that it would be either later in the year would be put out this section, a proposal to bid. I'm really not sure it's going to make construction this year. If it gets approved, it would probably be sometime next year. I guess it's short. I don't know if you have any questions. Or...
I have a question. Sure. Is there anything else in the state that would simulate this?
Well, I'm aware of a path. There's a similar path that goes through Southington. It's over an old rail bed. If you go, it's 322. You get off 691 and you head towards Waterbury, and you go. There's a railroad bridge, and you can see it. There's it's right where 322 and 10 intersect. Just beyond that, west, there's an old railroad bridge that goes across 322, and that's they've converted that rail bed into a multi-use path. So I am familiar
And what
with
is
that.
the purpose of this?
The purpose is for non-motorized vehicles like bicycles and walkers to have more of a safer access to bike and to walk. Yep.
Can you tell me what other sections of the Shoreline Greenway Trail are built already in Guilford?
There aren't any other. This is the first section being
So
proposed.
that's Bradford.
There are some. There's a section down, way down on 146. I'm not really that familiar, but it is down. It might be down towards your.
I guess I'm a little curious why we're building a 10-foot wide, paved path when we're steering them back into a bike lane to walk on 146.
Well, it's going to be built in sections. The ultimate idea about this concept is to have it off, separated from the pavement. But the other sections haven't been designed yet, and the amount of money that's been appropriated would only allow for this section to be built. So it's not going to be built all at once. It's just, I guess the project is, fairly big. It's going to require a fair amount of money.
I'm assuming it's who's providing the money for the construction, who's providing the money for the maintenance, and who's going to do the maintenance once it's built.
Okay, it's federally funded and private donations. That's
For the construction?
yes.
Okay.
And as far as the maintenance, the town will be responsible for maintaining it. One thing, though, it's been determined that it will not be plowed during winter time. It's something that, as long as it's not snowing, it'll be usable, but that during the winter it would not be maintained, it wouldn't be plowed. But it will be maintained by the town.
Is there going to be lighting on it? Lighting, is there going to be
At
lighting?
this point, there isn't any proposal.
So it's only good
not-
till sunset?
I'm sorry?
It's only good till sunset, is that correct?
Yeah, I would say, because I don't know how much, there's some lighting on Route 1 there, but it's, down towards it gets fairly dark, so yeah.
I was thinking about, the liability factor.
Yeah, I think that, right now, it's not proposed to have lighting, so it would be mostly during the day. I think the one up in, the same with the one up in Southington, I don't think that's really lighted either.
Who has ownership of this once it's completed?
Well, the land is owned by the state, and it will remain owned by the
So
state. It'll be-
if there's an accident on that thing, who becomes liable in that situation?
No, that's a good question. I would say theoretically, and this is only my opinion, I would say both the town will be maintaining it, so it could be the town and the state. The state will own the land. It just still will be in the state right away.
And this is for multi-use, so we can assume when it's used, it could be people walking, people riding bikes, people using skateboards.
Okay, I guess that, if I could defer, I don't know.
When we get, we'll get to
Okay,
you
we'll
in
get
a
to
minute.
it, yeah, I guess not. That would be-
So there are, who, for example, if you just said no skateboards, who's gonna police that?
Well, it's just like the police department, it's just like anywhere else in town. People riding on the road with unregistered vehicles or no licenses, mini bikes. It'd be the same police who polices all the other roads and infrastructure.
Is there going to be emergency call blockers on it or something?
There's not any proposed at this point.
There's a letter here from Kevin McGee. Did you see this letter yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm going to read it into the record. It's dated August 17th, and it's regarding the coastal area management review for the Greenway Trail. The applicant is proposing to install a Greenway Trail along Boston Post Road, Route 1, from the East River to the intersection with Boston Street. The eastern half of the proposed trail traverses a section of the coastal area management zone. The site plan provides for erosion and sedimentation control measures that are designed to protect the adjacent coastal resources. The work being conducted could impact the adjacent coastal resources if the erosion and sedimentation control measures are not properly maintained. The Guilford Inland Wetland Commission, at its August 10th, 2016 meeting, approved a regulated construction, the first segment of the Shoreline Greenway Trail shown on proposed Boston Post Road, multi-use path from Madison Town Line to Route 146, Guilford, Connecticut, dated March 2016, sheets 4 to 9, prepared by Town of Guilford Engineering Department with conditions. In order to make sure the coastal resources are protected during and after the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. First, that silt sacks should be installed in the catch basins along Boston Post Road to prevent the flow of sedimentation to the East River. And second, the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. You don't have a problem with either one of those
No,
conditions?
not at all.
Do we have any other questions from the commission? Okay, could those, go ahead. People in the audience that have questions, please, not being for or against, but questions of the applicant. Sir.
I have questions, it's also part of it. Oh, Carlton Bradbury, I live at 982 Leeds Island Road, Guilford, Connecticut. And with regard to the Greenway Trail, Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission, I own and live at 982 Leeds Island Road. I've been informed that the Greenway Trail has a map showing trail route proposals that may cross over private properties and salt marshes. My questions are, as our town commission, do you have a copy of a map showing the proposed route for the completed trail through the town of Guilford? Is my property affected? Does the Shoreline Greenway Trail proposal suggest imposing eminent domain by the town of Guilford or any other governmental agency over any of these privately owned properties in Guilford?
Well, right now, the answer to that is no.
So
As far as I know, there's no
the
master
planning
plan
commission
for the whole
has
trail.
no big picture of how they plan to put
May I comment?
Just let's let
Okay.
him finish. Right now, we don't have any master plan for the route all the way through Guilford.
And nobody's floated any proposals for getting access over private properties.
Is anybody aware of that now? No?
But they can't just take private property, they would have to pay for that or give some form of notice. It's not gonna just come out of the blue. They start
True,
building
but this
on it.
just took place in New London.
And they just start.
Which I would expect you're aware of that situation on the waterfront in New London. It could happen here if the town of Guilford decided that that was something they wanted to do.
Okay. So those are your questions, and if you have comments for or against, we'll hold those until after.
I'll hold that.
Okay?
Thank you.
Questions from the audience? Sir, please introduce yourself.
I'm Frank Farrell from 159 Granite Road. I'm pretty much in agreement with the previous gentleman here. I don't see how you can go ahead with this project without knowing where the rest of it goes across Guilford. I mean, you have to have a plan. This Greenway Trail Committee, that's their purpose. They want to link up with Branford and East Haven and on through New Haven. That's their goal. And I'm just at a loss as to how you can approve this part, maybe even risking dead-ending it when there's really no idea where it's going. From there, 146 has wetlands on either side of it. It's kind of narrow. There's private property, and I agree with the concern about taking property from people and so forth.
So do you have a specific question right now?
Well, what is the rest of the plan?
Okay.
Somebody here has to know that.
Okay? Let's get through the questions.
Well, do you have an answer for him?
All I have is I've seen a conceptual of all along 146 through to Branford. I have heard that there was discussion over the old trolley beds, but that is, I agree, private property, and that isn't something that would just happen. There's procedures set up if that were to happen. I'm not aware that the Shoreline Rail Trail is really pursuing going to private property. I think it was just something that they were thinking about. But the alignment that I stated here tonight, it's the conceptual alignment through Guilford. I can produce, I do have a copy of those drawings, the original layout from New Haven to Hammonasset. In fact, it shows, I could be wrong, but I looked at it about 3 weeks ago. It showed going through 146, and I think it did show some alternate routes, but they were pretty much along other roads in town.
Okay. Other questions? Sir?
David Grigsby, 37 Union Street. I think I'm just going to ask a slightly more pointed way of what was just raised by Mr. Bradbury and Mr. Farrell. It sounds like this section is within the right-of-way owned by the state of Connecticut, meaning it's part of Route 1, so the fee is owned entirely by the state.
Yeah.
But, and then I believe Commissioner Johnson asked the question, well, where does it go from there? And the answer was, we're not really sure. Based off of the two members of the public who commented, is the town willing to state on the record whether it is willing to entertain or rule out using eminent domain to continue this Greenway Trail through private properties?
I can just do my personal opinion.
I'm not interested in your personal
I can't
opinion,
speak. I can't speak for the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
I cannot speak for them whether they would actually go through eminent domain or anything like that. I can't speak for them. I have not had any conversations with them
Okay,
personally.
So the town may want to use eminent domain to continue this trail?
I wouldn't, one way or the other, I wouldn't say, I'm not aware at this point. Because the other alignments, to my knowledge, they haven't been definitely set in stone.
Oh,
So
that's good.
until they're really set in stone, I don't see how anybody can consider if it's going to go through private property. How could you even think about jumping and trying to get through eminent domain, trying to get, if the alignment hasn't been,
Which leads us to the question of why approve this section if we don't know where the trail is going to go. My question, I guess, to the commission is, are you willing to proceed knowing that apparently the town is not willing to rule out using eminent domain to continue this trail? That's my question to the commission.
Okay. Okay. Good. I'm not willing
I'm
to
sorry,
answer,
I'm not ready to answer.
I'm not willing to answer the question until, I think probably we have a further discussion with the Board of Selectmen and the town attorney. Pam?
I'm the chair of the Gilbert team of the Shoreline Greenway Trail, Pam Bisbee Simons. And I know we're supposed to ask a question, so my question is, would the commission not like to see one bike trail that's safe for people in Guilford? And we have to start somewhere. And this is the first piece after many years. We've been at this for 15 years. We have 3 trails in Branford. We have 2 trails in East Haven. We have a beautiful trail in Madison. And of course, the hope is to connect. We will not use eminent domain. The board is committed to not using eminent domain. And that's why it's taking so long. We need private landowners to help us figure out where we can go on the edges of their property. Branford has a lot of town-owned properties, so they've been more successful in finding routes that, would work. I'm not supposed to give a speech, so I just wanted to get that out there.
How long is this section, Mark?
I'd say it's about 3,000 feet, something. Yeah.
I have a question to staff, and unfortunately Ray isn't here and George isn't here. This is all on state property, so what is our authority here? What is the, what is,
To approve a coastal area site plan application for this Greenway Trail. That's what your application is for.
so would they have to come, if we're only approving a coastal area site management plan, does that mean that they would have to come back in here to get a permit when they want to physically do any work on this?
No, because by approving the coastal area site plan, you're also approving the map that's been presented to you, that segment of the Greenway Trail.
Okay. Did I see,
Is any of that elevated?
Elevated meaning above the
It's
existing.
above the ground, yeah. You have that construction.
Yeah, maybe a foot or so up in the upper part here.
So you got footings under it and all that stuff?
Not footings, no, it'll be just the raised road, pathway would fill.
And you don't consider that a liability?
I don't
Could it be
really
ruined
see,
or
I would
something?
do that with roads and, it'll be compacted properly.
Well, this is a walkway, it's got nothing to do with the road.
Yeah, but it'll have a hard surface, it'll be asphalt with chip seal. It'll be like a road surface.
another question, sir?
Yeah, so
David Grigsby again. That's just a plan. Are there elevations which show what either fill or excavations are going to take place along the road?
Yeah, I can produce those, I have those had to be submitted to the state.
Are they submitted to this commission?
No, I don't have them here tonight, but I can, if you'd like. I can submit them.
I just anecdotally, as I'm along the road there, I was trying to figure out where this path was going to go, and I was trying to figure out to what extent you were going to be excavating to allow for the sidewalk, to what extent you were going to be filling, to what extent you were going to be cutting trees, to what extent you were going to be either relocating utility poles or moving around. Who's paying for all of that? And to what extent are you doing all of those things?
Okay, who's paying for it? Again, it's funded federally and it's private. That's the funding
And the state grant from the
from
department.
the state. That's correct. They just received a state grant from DEP.
Do you know the amount of that?
Yeah, it's $279,000, the deep grant.
That's correct. As far as the first part here up at the top of the hill, that'll be pretty much at grade. There won't be any sort of excavation until you get down. There's a section around 60 Boston Post Road. There will definitely be an excavation back, and there'll have to be a grading easement obtained from the property owners. The trail will still be in the right-of-way, but there will be a grading easement obtained. As to date, the property owners, they did assign a document that they're agreeable to have the grading, to have the path go through their property and to grade back on their property. Just that actually, all the paperwork is just a matter of them bringing it, we have to just bring it to the attorneys and for a signature.
I had a quick question. Is there a possibility that this is the only part of the Greenway that is ever completed in Guilford?
I can't answer that, I really don't know. The intent, as was stated, there are conceptual
I
through
understand, but it
Guilford.
seems like there's a lot that goes into getting the funding.
I can't deny, I can't deny that. I know.
Sir,
I'll wait for the commissioner.
With a $279,000 grant and 3,000 square feet, are you guys have enough money to get this done?
Well, they also said federal funding.
Yeah, plus it's a federal grant and private donations.
And you have all that in place? I mean,
Yes.
I guess the worst case scenario is it gets half done and then just sits there half done.
No, it is in place. The money is in place, yes.
So did you say the money is in place for the entire trail all the way to the Branford?
No, just this section.
Right, so I guess,
Half mile, sir.
and it's less of a question, more of a statement, is, I wasn't born in Guilford. Where I come from on Long Island, that's Jones Beach. And Robert Moses was a developer, and he got $85,000 to develop the state park, and he laid the foundations for all the buildings. And then he went back to the state legislature and said, you know, I spent $85,000, and we have these great foundations. You don't want to get in the paper that it's a waste of time, a waste of money. We're not going to do anything else with it. So they were then committed. Once they took that first step and they gave him the money, and he built the foundations, millions of dollars later, they had a state park. And so my question to you is, by granting you this first 3,000-foot run, aren't we committing financially, emotionally, all the different ways that we would commit to do this all the way across Guilford? We're not saying yes to this for 3,000 feet. Right now, if we approve this, we're saying yes to the expense, to the across people's property, to the possibility of eminent domain. We're saying yes to all that when we say yes to this. Is that correct?
I would say not quite.
Well, how is that not true?
Because as was stated, the entire alignment between New Haven and Madison, it's still conceptual, and there's alternate alignments. There's been various projects in the state and in the country that sort of have not been finished but have been built. I can state the overpass, if you go through West Hartford, that was built back in the early 60s. And that's been there for 50 years, because I remember when it was built. And it was supposed to be a loop around Hartford, and it was never finished. So I wouldn't say that you're actually signing on the dotted line that this trail is going to be, you know, there's not going to be no more public comment and no more public hearings, and it's set in stone.
But the wedge is in. And I guess what I would want to
Well,
avoid
it
is
just-
the famous bridge to nowhere. I think it's in Alaska where it literally goes nowhere. And this potentially, if the kind people in our bankrupt states stop sending money, and our federal government, which runs at a huge deficit, if they stop sending money, this potentially could be the trail to Route 146, right in front of the diner. And that's as far as it could ever go. And I don't know that saying yes to this is a great idea unless, you know, we're actually saying yes to the whole thing, actually, even though you're only asking for the first 3,000 feet.
Is this more of like a fantasy, this concept of Greenway Trail that's been going, and not I'm saying in Guilford, but that's been going on for, so how long has this Greenway Trail concept
I
been
was
in
stated
existence?
about 15 years,
So,
individual in the audience.
and from, you know, that is, the goal is all the way to New Haven, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking
Between New
about-
Haven and Hammonasset.
And Hammonasset, okay. And what, in all seriousness, is the likelihood of that ever being completed?
I'm pretty
That's a good
open.
point.
I can't give you a definite
Well,
answer.
no, so all I'm
Really.
saying is
Yeah.
that this might just be one sort of, one component of that might never get completed, but it certainly will serve a service to the town by allowing this strip of land to be used as a walkway or or riding bikeway, I guess. If, it doesn't mean that we're committing to every other CAM application you bring in front of us, if any. Is that correct?
Right, it doesn't. One thing I would like to add, this route is sort of already a designated bike route. If you've traveled it, when you come out off 146, there's green signs that bike route, bike trail. So it's not really that this is really dead-ended, okay? It's just going to come back out. It's just part of the process of separating the trail from the road and allowing individuals that do use non-motorized vehicles or walk that a more safer route. If the only thing I could say, if the other sections don't get built, 146 is still a bike route. It's my understanding it's a designated bike route. So it's not that it's dead-ended at both ends and going into Madison. The shoulder there, because I live in Westbrook, the shoulder there is actually fairly wide. It's wider than coming down 146. In fact, they restriped the white lines, they brought them in. I think the lanes are now 11 feet instead of 12. They've given them even an additional foot. So, I mean, I would kind of caution on, it's part of already an existing multi-path walkway bike route, but it's part that's being sort of redeveloped or being improved.
Will that be public parking along it?
There was talk, there was talk of trying to get some access, but that hasn't been firmed up at this point. There's been access somewhere here along Horseshoe, and then there was access along down towards Soundview, but it hasn't been firmed as far as, I mean, I don't know how much, a lot of these trails, I don't know, I guess maybe they might have some parking along the way, but it's sort of scattered because it's the intent that the people, you know, that they basically bike the whole route or they walk the route.
Oh, yeah, but they may have a car at one of the end.
Right. Well, that's true. I guess they could, conceivably, they can park in them sort of public parking and get their bike. They can go on the road and then they can come on the trail here. They can drive to Guilford or in public.
So that hasn't been discussed or cleared up?
It has been discussed, but it hasn't been finalized or anything as far as an actual spot.
Okay.
I'm just curious, if the intent is to create a safe biking/walking route, why wouldn't you just increase the width on Route 1? Where you're dumping in 146, where you're putting them out on Route 1 in Madison anyway, and you're putting them on 146 at the end, right?
Well, they're going back out where right now they travel along the road. This is actually taking them further off. That's the intent of this whole Shoreline Greenway Trail, is to separate them from the actual traveled way, the road, the vehicle traveled way. I mean, down here, practically the white line is practically against the curbing on the north side. And on the south side, it's maybe like a foot. So it's really substandard. It's substandard for any type of a shoulder. And as you know, the vehicles there, they travel at least 45 miles an hour, depending on the time of day. So that's the intent. But I basically now they travel all along this. Every now and then I've seen people, I've seen people use this bike path going into Madison. But this is the first attempt to take them off the vehicle traveled way.
I'd like to get the comments, but only questions. Just a question?
It's a question, but this gentleman has a question first.
Just a question?
Carlton Granberry again. My question is, you say that you have a map of the proposed trail across the town of Guilford. Will you submit that to the Planning and Zoning Office so that we can
Yes.
see it?
Sure.
And when can you do that?
Tomorrow.
Great, thank you very much.
David?
Yes, sir. David Grigsby again. Mark, I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Damiani.
Damian, Mr. Damian?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have agreements with neighboring property owners. As I'm looking at that or that plan, nearest 146, one of the properties right near the corner is Guilford Automotive.
Yes.
And they have plenty of parking, I'm going to use that term loosely, in the front of their property. It sure looks like that path is going through a significant portion of their property. The motel has some relatively nice landscaping down along Route 1. Is the path going through that? And when you said you had, the property owners were quote-unquote fairly in agreement, does that mean you have the agreement of all of the property owners to the south that are affected by this path? And are those agreements publicly available that we can review them? If they're agreements with the town, I'm assuming they are public documents. Can we review them, and where are they?
What it was is there was a public informational meeting, and then the Shoreline Greenway Trail, in conjunction with the town, had approached each property owner. There isn't anything, the only formal agreement in writing was where there has to be grading easements on the actual property. This section of the right-of-way, this purple line is the actual street line. So Guilford Automotive and Tower Motel, you can take a look at this. This is about, I get about almost 60 feet.
They're encroaching into the right of way?
The right-of-way line is about 60 feet behind the edge of pavement
So
in
are
this
they-
section of Route 1. So actually those Guilford Automotive, those cars are in the right-of-way.
Right, so are they aware of the fact that the good news for them is that they're gonna have
Yeah.
to move back 60 feet?
Well, not necessarily they're going to have to move back. The intent was like for the motel to keep all this landscaping here and to just go behind it. And the same thing for the,
You think they're gonna be on the other side of the path or both sides of the path, or how's it gonna work?
no, they wouldn't be able to park on this side. They would have to do some rearrangement, but they would still have that island there because they have two entrances.
Let me go back to the agreements, you said they were with the Greenway Trail and the town and the property owners, are they public documents available or not?
The actual, these agreements,
Are they private agreements?
no, they're not private agreements.
Okay.
They're, basically, the town went, and the Shoreline Greenway Trail, representative of the town, and they approached each of the property owners, and they were verbally in support.
So they were verbally in support?
Yeah, there's no formal agreement that way. I mean, it's in the state right away, it's not on their property except for the, down at around 60 Boston Post Road. And that individual has signed that document can be.
A slope right easement of some kind?
Yes, grading, construction easement.
Okay, and I earlier asked you about elevations, and you said they were available, but they haven't been submitted.
I can't submit them tomorrow.
So they are not part of the public record today, so we can't review them today. So this commission can't review and evaluate this fully without those elevations.
I can't submit them tomorrow, that's no problem.
Okay.
I think, ma'am, I think you represent the Shoreline Green. Why don't you take a few minutes to talk about this part of the project for you? Maybe it'll clear up some of the issues.
Well, there are quite a few things I'd like to answer, but hope I can keep track of them all.
Would you mind coming up to the front?
Stand up and just give us your name again and your address.
Sure. Do I have to speak into?
No, I don't think you do.
I'm Pam Bisbee Simons, live at 57 Spencer Avenue, Guilford, and I'm the current chair of the Guilford team of the Shoreline Greenway Trail. And Mark Damiani from the Town Engineering Department and Jim Portley have been working with us for the last 3 years to try and develop a plan that we can finally start our first section in Guilford, since we have sections in every other town of our four-town plan, 25-mile long, multi-use, bicycling, walking, jogging, pushing your kids on the baby strollers, a wonderful outdoor recreational vehicle for all of us that we don't have right now. I'm a bicyclist. I've been biking in Guilford for 40 years. There is no safe biking in Guilford, I have to say that. I do 146 to Stony Creek, and I just hold my breath. So that was sort of the motivation that quite a few of us came together with 15 years ago with this dream, which does seem like an impossible dream, I must admit. But we have made great progress, and as of right now, 1/2 of the whole route has been either approved or built or is under construction. The one town we haven't made much progress in is Guilford. And we had a couple possibilities with private landowners that did not come through. And we are very respectful of that, and we want support of the people's properties that we would like to go in front of or behind or whatever. So that's a requirement of our board. We're all volunteer, by the way, completely volunteer organization, with the board of directors, a nonprofit, all those good things. So when the possibility of Route 1 came up, we frankly didn't really want it. We wanted to be in a more attractive area that felt a little less congested and not heavily trafficked. But the more we thought of it, we also want to connect to the other town trails, and we have to get across the river some way. So it began to look like this might be a possibility because of the Department, DOT, Department of Transportation, having a nice wide right-of-way. We did have a public hearing, gosh, I think it might have been, Mark, and I can't remember, was it 2 or 3 years ago?
I think there's, I saw a note somewhere, it was in
2014?
14, okay. So we had a public hearing, and there was really a large swell of support at that meeting. Quite a few people attended. I think it was maybe 50 or 60. And that's when the first proposal for going along Route 1 was presented. We have talked, I'm not the person who's been handling this section. Milton Charlton is the man, volunteer on our team, who has been doing all the work for the last 3 years. And he's talked to every homeowner along Route 1 on the south side where we want our trail to go. And almost unanimously, everybody feels it's a really good idea. All the people that live in, is it Sunrise, in that community? They just think it's great. And Madison's first selectman just agreed that their next piece, after the beautiful Hammonasset piece that we built, that piece will be along Route 1 starting at the Guilford town line. So we will finally have a continuation. And Madison has a pretty section along Route 1, so if they have to keep going on Route 1, that wouldn't be so bad. I think our Route 1 is, as you know, very commercial, lots of traffic in and out. I don't know that that would be the best solution. Where we're going to go, we don't know. We certainly hope that we can somehow get along 146, which is completely unsafe, but whether we can do it, whether we can have a right-of-way or not, will depend on the citizens of Guilford. So this would be, finally, though, 1 3/4 mile section that people can go on and be safe on with their kids. I'd love to see more children biking. We don't see that very much. We have to start somewhere. And this was really going to be a win-win for us with all the funding secured through our federal grant that we got about 8 years ago, and a DEEP grant that we just received, which is very exciting, that took care of the shortfall that we had. And it will then, the engineering department will send it out to bid, and we'll get engineers, and it'll be designed to be good for the coastal wetlands and all, everything that's important. I'm not an engineer. So all I can tell you is we've just got to start somewhere, and this is a wonderful place to start. So I don't know if you want anybody to ask me any questions. I don't want to take up this whole meeting.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you say that you were working with town staff for 3 years?
We've been working with Jim Portley and Mark
Yeah,
Damiano.
off and on,
Yeah.
not continuously.
Off and on.
3 years.
Yeah.
The engineering department is doing.
Been in
the design.
conversation with them.
Right. So as the engineering department then invested the time to do all the drawings and proposals?
Yes.
Okay.
Each town, actually, when we began, we went to the selectmen in each town to ask for support for our concept, and we also asked for a contribution of $20,000 at the time. And I have to say that Guilford did not come forth with that money, so this is really wonderful that we've been able to get that kind of pro bono help from the town of Guilford.
Right, but that has value. The town gave you...
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. The staff's time and effort has value. They gave that to you already?
Yes, they've been working very diligently on this project.
I see.
Because they also believe in it.
But I haven't, not continuing.
Not full-time, they have other
No.
things to do,
Yeah.
like parking lots and River Street and a few other things in town. So I know it's hard to address your concern, Mr. Meyer, about is this something to nowhere? I don't really believe it is. I think when people see how nice it is, you will be surprised there'll be even more support. Also, we have 1,000 families in Guilford who are supporters of the Shoreline Greenway Trail. And this when you have one success, it can build to another success. And if you haven't walked the Madison piece that is outside of the gates, it goes all the way to Liberty Street now, it is just wonderful. And it's used all the time. And I'm a believer in staying healthy and getting everybody outside and getting your kids outside. And with no bike trails in Guilford, unless you want to call that little line on the side of the road a bike trail, we're losing out, frankly. We could be a much more bike-friendly town. And being multi-use enables other people to use it, and that's part of the reason you need the 8 to 10 foot wide width. We also know that we won't get the whole trail built bum, 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 like that in Guilford. So what we're also doing is trying to build a section of trail and then at least have some way of showing people where to go to connect to the next section, and try and make that a little safer with lines in the same, with signs, things like that, that will wake people up who are driving to be more careful of bicyclists. And I have to say, we're also always trying to train people how to be good bicyclists and to know the rules of the road when you have to be on the road.
When you say bicycles, you don't mean motorized bikes, do you?
Well, this is a new thing that just came up. There are now some bikes that have little motors on them.
Yes.
I don't know if any of you, they're for older people.
Right.
For
I
people
just-
who can't go up a hill.
I don't have, Milton, Mr. Charlton, he had, earlier, he has given me signs that say no motorized vehicles. So
Yeah.
it's my understanding that it would
Should be
not
no
be
more what?
no motorized
There are
vehicles.
no
I already have
motorized
signs,
vehicles.
which I
No,
can-
no segways.
No segways.
Well, no motorized, whatever the definition of
Skateboards,
motorized
motorized, they
vehicle.
got all kinds of stuff.
Skateboards, certainly not.
No, the battery operated.
See, our topping, on most of the trail, we have Stony Creek granite embedded, or I should say firm Stony Creek granite. In this section, because it's along Route 1, it was felt by the engineers that it needed to be a firmer surface, so it's going to be embedded in chip seal, but it'll have some of that finish. But I don't think a skateboard would be too happy on that.
Okay.
Just a question, and then we're going to get, after this, 2 more questions, and we're going to get on to comments.
Ms. Frank, you agreed a few minutes ago to submit whatever plan you have for the rest going on
Yes.
to Stony Creek to the planning and zoning. I just wanted to be certain that that would be available for public view as well.
But I want to say that we don't have a plan. We don't
There's
have
a
a
little
plan.
difference.
What about the conceptual?
He's referring.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mark is referring to, I think, quite a few years ago when Stantec did a.
Yeah, isn't that the original?
Stantec, oh gosh, this goes back. Stantec back, how long ago? Maybe in 2008 or before. They were requested to try and give us a concept map of what we might be able to do. And it had to be based on what was permitted at that time. But we had talked to no landowners yet. We had done none of that spade work that's very important. But they did draw a route from here, from Madison, all the way to Lighthouse Point, which is where the end of our trail is going to be. But that is not where the trail's going to go. There are no permits for that. It was just they're telling us, if you wanted to do it right now, it would have to go here. And it caused a lot of problems
So
for us.
I'm still unclear then whether there's.
There is no-
If that's all you have, that's your starting point for connecting from this piece on.
Well, our,
Well, are you-
And if so, I think the public should see that.
I think it's
mean,
probably
Does that
available.
conceptual drawing show this portion of the trail?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Does it
yeah.
depict it accurately? So this was. what
Well,
was
it
on-
doesn't show the dimensions of width
No,
or
but does
the,
it
it
show
shows
like
the,
this was the intent of that?
yes, go down 1 foot. I mean, that's still not considered a
It's not
possible
what the
alignment.
Shoreline Greenway Trail Board has approved to be all of
No,
our
I
trails.
understand that. I just wanted to know if that what you're proposing tonight is consistent with the conceptual mapping.
They're asking for, has the board approved an actual then alignment?
Here, yes, of course.
Okay, but that conceptual that was submitted, that was never, they disapproved that, or
I
they,
think-
I thought that was under the impression.
that was not a
I
board
think what I'm
approved
hearing is
concept.
that there are people that would like to have a fairly good understanding
Right.
of where this trail is proposed to go from one end of Guilford to the other. Because if we're going to spend how much on this?
Yeah,
That's
well, that's the grant.
It's still money being spent by somebody, and if we're going to spend that much on this, what is it going to cost to put this trail through? Even if you gave us a proposed area and you gave us an estimate of what it was going to cost, I think that would be very important for the public to know that. Because we can say the money's coming from the state and from the DEP. The fact is, taxpayers are paying for all of this, period.
And we are going to maintain it.
And somebody else is going to maintain it.
No, town. We are.
Yeah.
And that includes like hauling away garbage in the garbage cans. You know, I walk on your trail in Brantford, on the trolley trail, absolutely lovely. It's coated in graffiti, and the garbage cans are always overflowing.
Which trail is that?
The trolley trail, the shoreline
Which is-
greenway trail. in-
Well, we have their permission to cross on it, yes.
Right, so I know that Brantford is not maintaining it as well as they should. There's graffiti all over it, and a lot of the graffiti is in really poor taste, and the garbage cans are overflowing. So one of the things we're also signing on to with this, if we say yes, is the continuing costs for the town. Now, you know, I understand that we have a grant and it's all great, but I've also heard that for 3 years, staff has been laboring on the drawings. And so we've already spent probably tens of thousands of dollars. And at a time when our budgets are getting defeated because our taxes are so high. So I think the chairman is correct that we need to really see how many millions of dollars taxpayers are going to have to pay for this before we say yes. Just my personal opinion. Mr. Chairman, you have other questions?
No, I'm going to allow one more question. Then I think probably at the end of the day here, we're going to continue this meeting after tonight, because I think there's too much that needs to be talked about here. But I want to get on to people speaking in favor of against this, but go ahead and ask your one.
One person who asked a very compound question.
Okay.
I know you're good. Great speaking again. Part of what confuses me is that I'm not quite clear who the applicant is. It sounded like it was the town, and yet the Shoreline Greenway Trail was talking, and I thought I heard the Shoreline Greenway Trail say that one of the requirements of the board was that they did not want to see eminent domain used. Is that a formal position of the Shoreline Greenway Trail to never use eminent domain as part of this trail?
I can tell you that we can make it that. I don't know that it's a bylaw or whatever you'd have to have, but we certainly have talked about that and said that we would not do that.
Would that be you would be willing to grant that as a condition of any approval for any trails in Guilford?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
All right, great. And my second follow-up compound sentence was we talked about maintenance. We talked about in Guilford, maintenance is happening by the town. Is maintenance in Madison happening by the town of Madison? And the reason I'm asking this trick question is I'm going to submit a photograph. I'm not sure if I need to text it to somebody on the commission or something. I was in Madison Monday on the trail, and as an attorney, I would tell you, you have a hazardous condition because you have a very large street across your trail. And as an attorney who watched a woman with a stroller run in the other direction and then watched a bicyclist come the other direction passing underneath this, you have a serious liability risk.
Well, thank you for that.
And I'm interested in who's on the hook for that. If the town of Madison, the town of Guilford, Shoreline Greenway Trail, we talk about how maintenance is going to happen. This is actually a pretty serious condition. I'm happy to, somebody send me a cell phone number and I'll send you the photographs.
Well, I'll certainly let Jenny Raff, who's the chairman of the Madison team, know that if they don't already,
Okay, let's
because
move
they will
into-
certainly take care of it.
Let's move into some yays and nays here, because there's a number of people here. First, anybody, who would like to speak in support of this? Who would like to speak in opposition to it? Is it Mr. Cranberry?
Carlton Bradbury.
Cranberry, I'm sorry, would you like to stand up?
Yes, 982 East Island Road. Two of my questions have been answered. Is my property affected? The trolley track bisects my property, does not abut, it goes right through my property. So yes, my property is affected. Does the Shoreline Greenway Trail proposal suggest imposing eminent domain by the town of Guilford or any other governmental agency over these private properties in Guilford? Obviously, the state of Connecticut is heavily invested already. Does the state of Connecticut trump the town of Guilford in imposing eminent domain on town residents? In the 1960s, the state of Connecticut entertained a proposal to put in a paved scenic overlook on a piece of Granbury property that I currently own. The overlook was to be conveniently accessed from Route 95 via exit 56 and a paved road all the way to the waterfront and a parking lot through numerous privately owned properties. Environmental impact and the confiscation of private property were two of the numerous flaws that led to the rejection of this proposal. These are some of the same concerns that may affect your town residents with regards to the Shoreline Greenway Trail proposal. And the fact that the state of Connecticut is involved, and I don't know how things stand with them enforcing eminent domain, that really worries me. I mean, at least within the town of Guilford, I'm dealing with the people who I pay taxes to and I live with, and we're all on the same page, I think, in terms of eminent domain. But if the state of Connecticut is involved in this, I think it could cause some sticky situations. Thank you.
Well, we're also an organization that has a voice. So the state of Connecticut could not force us to take eminent domain, first of all. They couldn't, and it's DOT that we're working with on Route 1, it's the Department of Transportation. I don't know what other streets and roads they own in town, but regardless.
So I have a question for Attorney Grigsby.
Sure.
So I have very shallow depth of knowledge of the law, and you have a deep knowledge. So if the Shoreline Greenway Trail agrees to not use eminent domain, they don't have the legal standing to do it or not do it. If the town, the New Haven County, the state, if they decide to do it to further this thing, it doesn't matter what they say.
That's correct.
So
The state absolutely has authority over any municipality within the state. It could impose eminent domain. The state could do it, the town could do it. Shoreline Greenway Trail has no eminent domain powers itself. It could lobby in theory on behalf of the town.
Right, but
it sounded as if I heard they would make the representation they wouldn't do it. They haven't done that today.
But they can't do it anyway. The state
It's not their power, no matter
Right.
what. Ultimately, it could be the town, and if the town says we've just spent, or the state says we've just spent $280,000.
That's my point.
Here, we want to do it there, and we're going to have to go through Mr. Bradbury property or David Grigsby's bedroom, we're doing it.
Right.
So nothing the Shoreline Greenway Trail or anyone else can do about it.
Right, so in effect, the only real opportunity we would have to sort of head off that opportunity would be here now to say no to this, because if we say yes to this, we're further burying more money into this and giving the state or the town or whoever has the power of eminent domain to have a reason to want to do more.
I think it's been a legitimately raised question of where does this trail go through Guilford, and right now we only know this one section. We don't even know the elevations, and we don't even
Right.
know what's really going to happen.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else want to speak against this tonight?
My only observation is that Mr. Mark, stated that he has not presented elevations, and I think elevations are critical to understand exactly what's happening with this specific section, though I expressed great concerns that we don't know where else this trail is going. That's my biggest concern. Thank you.
Pursuant to our regulations, you're required to submit elevations for CAM applications. So I think, although I'm inclined to support some sort of local project, we definitely need to continue this going forward so that he could comply entirely with the 273-91, and then all the community can review those pieces of information that they've committed to. So we'd like to continue it until whenever the next public hearing is.
Sir? Eric?
Eric Anderson. It seems to me, listening to all of this, that we've gotten quite a ways away from what we're here for, which is a coastal area management concern. And if this, what they're proposing here is not reflect the coastal area management, then I think that's the end of what's before you, unless I'm wrong. It seems to be a whole presentation on the whole Greenway Trail instead of just the coastal area management for this section.
May I address that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Anderson, we are granted by the state broad discretionary powers. There are times when something just on the surface carries with it a whole lot more. And so we have broad powers, as crazy as it sounds. We can say no just because we want to say no. And so we take all things into account when we make a decision. You're right, this is a simple CAM application, and they certainly meet all the requirements from what's apparent. However, we are granted powers to say no to this if we feel that somehow or another it's going to have a negative impact on properties throughout Guilford. It is one of the powers granted to us. So you are correct, but we can do that.
I'd like to ask why none of these questions have come from the Planning and Zoning Commission that deal with issues way beyond the CAM before, when this has been a public hearing and we all have been putting information out to the public on our website, and we would be welcome an opportunity to speak with the entire planning and zoning, and perhaps we need another public meeting.
There's going to be, so I would recommend you bring as many supporters as you would like to the next public hearing, and we'll listen to all the supporters, say all the good things, and we'll listen to all the people that have negative things to say about this. And Reggie, is a CAM application special permit?
No, no. Well, you can continue the public
No,
hearing.
of course we can continue the public hearing. I'm just wondering in terms of our ability to
No.
have
I
discretion.
think
No,
it's a
it's not a
sense of
special
the
permit.
committee here that that's what we're going to do.
But
We have to go through the rest of these applications to do that.
No, when we continue it now, because we don't want to close the public hearing, so we'll make a motion.
Okay.
I made a motion to
You
continue
have-
it.
Right, because you have a CAM in front of you
Yep.
and a site plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
I second it.
okay.
So-
And that continued to September 7th.
Perfect. Sounds good. Unless is that a problem with you that?
For the record.
Yes, you can give,
What, September 7th?
Oh, September 7th.
so I think we should officially vote on this then, because I don't hear anybody right now that needs to say there's enough been said tonight, and nobody else wants to get the, being opposed to it, say anything tonight. Right, so you've made a motion, and you've seconded to continue it till September 7th?
And that's with the understanding that they're going to present the elevations and.
Well, they have,
also-
yeah, they have to comply with the
You have to,
regulations.
there's other stuff that we need,
And
so.
they were also going to present the proposed route that was from 2014.
Yep.
Could
Okay,
they
all-
do that soon rather than later? Because if I get it the day.
Well, he
of the
said he could
meeting-
do the elevations tomorrow. So let's get-
Let's say by the end of the week, we'll need several copies.
Okay. Get him to,
Have them email them to us.
yeah, and then Lisa will email him, or he's going to get you the stuff, and then you can email it to us. Okay. All those in favor of continuing this meeting until September 7th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, good. We'll move on then for tonight. Good. The next one is 86 Seaside Avenue LLC, Brenda Nuttall, 86 Seaside Avenue, map 29, lot 119, zone R3, coastal area management, site plan install, prefabricated 12 by 16 shed, 273-91. Who is making the presentation?
I'm Gary Nuttall, married to aforesaid Brenda Nuttall, 46 years. In April of last year, my wife and I purchased 4 properties from Chris McManus on Seaside Avenue, and included among those was the property the subject of this application, 86 Seaside Avenue. That is a property that is approximately 1,960 square feet. It has no garage. It is currently rented to two teachers who teach in the New Haven public school system. They got together after their first marriages, and they have household goods that don't exactly fit within 1,960 square feet. So we have a certain issue with regard to a temporary shed-type structure, canvas covered, on the north side of the property. And we recognize the issue and problem they have with regard to the lack of space for the things that they have to store within the existing structure. So we proposed have installed a prefabricated shed built by Clotter Farms, which is going to be somewhat similar to the design, albeit miniature, of the existing structure. The gables will line up, the roofing will be the same, the siding will be the same color, and hopefully we'll get stuff that is otherwise unsightly from the street and otherwise stored out of sight and safely. So that is the purpose of the application. And
So this is really an after-the-fact application, you've got the shed on?
No.
Okay. I thought you said.
There's a letter here from Kevin McGree, the environmental planner. Did you receive that today?
I did not.
Okay, I'll give it to you when I'm done reading it. It was dated for today, and it's regarding 86 Seaside Avenue. The applicant is proposing to install a 12 by 16 shed 28 feet from the coastal jurisdiction line in a FEMA flood zone AE elevation 12. The site plan does not provide for an installation of erosion and sedimentation control measures to protect the adjacent coastal resources. The work being conducted could impact the adjacent coastal resources if the work is conducted during a rainy day or soil stockpiles are left for an extended period of time. In order to make sure that the coastal resources are protected and during and after construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. First, any material removed from the installation of the shed should be disposed of off-site. And second, an 18-foot wide by 18-foot deep, 18-inch, I was going to say that would be horrible. An 18-inch wide by 18-inch deep stone infiltration trench should be installed around the perimeter of the shed. Do you have a problem with any of those conditions?
No. Apparently what they do is they build or put under the shed, or a team comes out and they they excavate, they put down a stone base that extends 1 foot beyond the existing.
Clotter Farms is going to install.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's standard. Just so you know, they have to comply with.
So it should be, but what we're saying is that they, instead of making it a foot, they need to make it 18 inches.
No, we're talking about laterally, and he's talking, I think, depth, right?
Yeah.
So we need to go laterally 1 foot out and then 18 inches down.
There you go.
Okay.
You can keep this, and the conditions are at the bottom, and we'll make them a part of the record when we vote on it.
Okay. I'll
Do you
make
have
them
any
aware.
rendering of it, sir? You're not working with an architect, obviously. Do you have any renderings?
There was in the package of materials submitted to the to Reggie.
Do you have any?
What are you looking for?
I was looking for some renderings. What does it look like, rendering? Yeah, you got a picture? You do, sir.
Structures in.
No, I thought maybe you're working with an architect.
No. It's a,
It's the same conditions
So, but they're just talking about dropping it on some stone.
Oh, okay.
Except it's going to be gray.
Yeah.
You know, it's got one door. Could just float away. 2 windows, these face. Wait, I don't mean to,
Yeah.
if it's not secured to any type of, I mean, I just asked the question, are there
Oh, okay.
any specific conditions for construction?
It's the same as it would be like a house. Like they
You look over the back of town. They see the thing's pretty vanilla. Yeah, just
that's a bigger shed by the look of it.
That's all.
So how would you comply with FEMA regulations with a shed?
That's what it's going to be.
Thank you.
What?
It's an AE zone. Does
Yeah.
it have to come up above the flood?
I don't know. When Mark Damiani looks at the building permit application, he'll tell him. He looked at the
Oh, that's lovely.
All the applications have had no
It's
comments
beautiful.
except
It's
for
a
one.
manor cape. See that? Nice.
Except it'll be great.
Greg?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions to the applicant?
Just double check the building codes. When they put it in,
Yeah,
that,
the base.
well, the base and whether or not it needs to be secure.
Oh, no, that's in the contract.
Well, I mean, are there footings that are poured?
No, it's got, what do they call them, Reggie? They've got tie downs.
Yeah, they have
For
hurricane
coastal
tie downs
jurisdiction.
for these things. And
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
sitting on a gravel base.
But then it's got, at each corner, they put in, they screw into the ground.
Anchors.
Anchors, and those are secured to the building.
So.
Just double check. You don't want to, after the fact, you don't want to be like, I had to do what?
No. Clotter Farms is one of the largest in the state, if not the largest in the state.
Well, you might just mention to them that it has to comply with FEMA flood zone AE regulations.
Okay.
It's in the letter from.
They're all set.
That needs to be done.
Ultimately, it'll fall back on you whether they do it the way they want to do it or not.
Okay,
So,
understood.
just
I'll-
better safe.
I'll email a copy of that letter to them tomorrow.
All right, anything else? All right, I move we close this public portion. Second. I don't think we have to, because it's not
Yeah,
it
it's
is,
not a
does
special-
anybody in the audience have a question? No. Anybody against this? Okay, so I guess we'll move on.
Close the public hearing.
Close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Who seconded?
Rich.
Rich did. William A. Young and Ronald Finocchio, 2 Salt Pit Road, map 34, lot 36A, zone R5, special permit, coastal area site management and site plan revision, increase parking for auto repair shop and add office trailer and accessory structure for shredding source business on rear portion of the lot. 273-91, 273-97, 273-36. This will be continued to a second hearing.
Good evening, Eric Anderson of Anderson Engineering Surveying Associates here in Guilford. This property is down on South Pit Road, just before you get to the railroad. It contains a little more than 1 acre of land and has been used for an automobile repair business since probably the 1960s. More recent than that has been used as in connection, part of the property was used for a refuse company, which now is used as a recycling office site by the shredding source. And we're here because Reggie Reed sent them letters stating that they had too many cars. The cars are out on the road and all over the place. So we have prepared a site plan that shows the building, shows where the parking can be, the spaces for the shredding operation, in relation to the coastal area management. Down on Land Trust property here, there is a salt marsh. At the present time, and ever since everything on this property started, there was no control of groundwater or runoff. We have proposed a infiltration system for the groundwater, and as we have included in there it's a floating mechanism to gather the oils and things of that nature that was suggested by John Goucher. We're showing currently 42 spaces for the garage, 7 cars and 5 trucks for the shredding operation. When this site started to be used, there was no restriction on what could be used. Back in 1978, there was a site plan that showed 47 spaces for vehicles on the property here. It was approved by planning and zoning. So we're looking for your approval for this particular layout and the coastal area management approval, because we have probably mitigated is the best word for it by retaining a lot of the site drainage into the system. Now, Mr. Young is here this evening if you have questions of his shredding operation. And Mr. Holland is here also, as running the automotive repair business out of this section here. Now they have put up a stockade fence in this area right here to contain the vehicles so that they're not getting out all over the place. So we're looking for your approval for this particular site plan and the coastal area management.
There's some correspondence in here from John Goucher, which I'm going to read into the record. Todd, this is an email to Todd Anderson on July 12th of this year. Todd, we received the above referenced application from Guilford Planning and Zoning Office to review for consistency with Connecticut Coastal Management Act policies. We fully support the proposal to capture and treat stormwater on site. However, additional details are necessary to ensure that the proposed design is suitable given site conditions. Specifically, subsurface infiltration as proposed requires suitable soils and a minimum separation to this season high groundwater table. Additionally, depending on the potential on-site pollution load, pretreatment is required to minimize the introduction of pollutants into groundwater supplies. Since the current use appears to be light industrial use, appropriate pretreatment measures should be incorporated into the design to target those pollutants. In order for us to complete a comprehensive review, additional information as described above is necessary. Please call if you'd like to discuss site conditions or alternative approaches. John Goucher. And then it looks like this would be Todd again. This is from Kevin McGee to Todd on August 1st, checking to see if you have a revised plan with additional details regarding stormwater galleries. Have you done any site testing to determine the groundwater elevation or look into pretreatment methods for the stormwater? To assist with pretreatment, you may want to install a catch basin with a sump adjacent to the galleries, along with other controls to handle heavy metals and hydrocarbons from leaking cars. And then this is from Todd to Kevin and John. Attached is a revised site plan showing the location and data of the test pits performed last week. We have also moved the catch basins to one end of the drainage galleries and provided a hooded sump. Please let me know if you require anything further. Thank you, Todd. And then this was just August 11th to Todd from John Goucher. The soil profile looks good. Can you realistically place the top of the galleries just 6 inches below the proposed top of the pavement? If so, a separation of groundwater, although not ideal, should be acceptable. Otherwise, a low-profile system should be considered. If there is anticipated petroleum hydrocarbon load common to many parking areas, I would suggest adding a passive floating skimmer to the catch basin to minimize hydrocarbons and other oils from entering groundwater supplies. I'll be out of the office until August 22nd. If you need me to look at a revision at that point, we can do that. Good luck with the project. So, did you take into consideration?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
In addition to doing that test hole, we did revise the system. We put more clean oxygen grade and also the oil separator that he requested.
And has there been any further comment from John about this? Do
No.
we need to wait for?
John went away on vacation.
Oh, yeah, he's not going to be back, yeah. We got to continue. I'm sure we will hear a follow-up
We'll
on
have
this.
it in time for your next
Yes.
hearing.
Could I get clarification on the shredding portion of this?
Yes.
Shredding, my understanding is that really all they're doing, they're not storing any stuff that they collect on site other than what's in trucks, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm Bill Young,
Okay, so really what you're doing there is you're storing your trucks there.
we park 5 commercial vehicles there and have our office.
And you have your office, and is that part of what the trailer is for?
The trailer is our office.
Okay. But you don't store any other stuff outside externally from the trucks?
We
Okay.
have 2 Eagle containers, and what they are is we buy our consoles and 64-gallon carts that go into our customers' locations. They're locked carts and locked consoles.
Okay.
And we have to buy them from a company in Canada, and in order to keep the trucking and the cost together, they put them together and ship them together. They're not apart and reassembled. And so we have to get at least 50 at a time, so that's what we store in those Eagle containers until we bring them to a customer.
You say you're going to be increasing parking. Could you give me an idea of many more vehicles you?
Mr. Holland, who we rent to, has the parking, has the repair operation, and he can.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Mike Holland is who we rent to. That's Holland's Garage. That's who has the repair operation.
Okay.
I've rented to Michael for the last 8.5 years, so. Basically,
14 years.
well, it seems like 8.5.
Right now, I'm approved for 15, we're looking for 42.
42?
Yes.
It's almost triple. Wow.
Yes, there's plenty of property there for, and like you said, it had been approved for 47 at one point.
Does that mean that our regulations, number of vehicles?
There's no regulation for
No
it.
regulation.
You have the discretion of
Okay.
approving this.
So it's currently approved for 50.
Correct.
Yeah, going to 45.
It said 42.
42, okay. And that's not covered by any regulation?
No.
Back in 1978, it was approved for 32 in the back area, plus another 15 in the front. And that was before the refuse company went in there.
All right, you just have a question for us. That's good, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Okay. Anybody from the public have a question? Sir?
David Brigsby, this time officially acting as president of the Guilford Land Conservation Trust, a budding landowner. I was speaking with Mr. Anderson. If you look carefully at the drawing, there's a sharp line. Well, there's 2 sharp lines. One, I'm going to call it the southeast boundary, in which he shows an encroachment into land trust property. Are you with me there, Eric? Well, I'm not showing the driveway yet. We're going to get to the driveway in a second. Show me. That, with concrete blocks, appears to be an encroachment into land trust property. And this appears to be the access drive. I'm sorry, that is the access driveway from Salt Pit Road, also on apparently land trust property. That is clearly an encroachment. I understand from Mr. Anderson that they are proposing to move the concrete blocks.
Yeah, we basically, if I can say
Sure.
that, maybe not come 20 years ago, we contacted the property owners because they used to harvest salt hay, and they had access through Northern tractors and trailers down to harvest the salt hay. They had 2 accesses on Salt Pit Road. One was here, and one was further down by the railroad tracks. And what happened was we started to utilize it for our trash business, and no one ever questioned it. So I approached them to see if I could purchase it. And they never made any comments one way or the other. And then what happened was they donated it to Land Trust, I believe, 3 years ago. Okay? And so it's not like we purposely tried to. It just was a tractor access that we just started using, and then it just became access for our vehicles.
Is the land trust looking for any more money?
Yeah, would you like to sell it to us? We'd be happy to make a donation.
this hearing is open for another 2 weeks at least. I would say that one of the conditions that ought to be imposed, I don't know if our organization is able to move fast enough, but that somehow a resolution needs to be addressed either both for this encroachment and for this access. I don't know what the answer is to that. I just learned of it today. I called Eric Anderson's office and through miscommunication wasn't able to obtain a copy of this map before the hearing. But there is clearly an encroachment and/or access, and that needs to get resolved. I'm sure the land trust and the property owner can work it out.
Yeah,
I don't know what that answer is. I can't speak on behalf of the entire board, but I don't think you can approve. I mean, I'm in favor of better parking, better drainage, better stormwater retention. It's just, as part of this, it's clearly you've got a zoning violation, or at least a potential zoning violation, and I'd like to get that resolved.
Is there other potential access from Saw Pit Road?
Yes. If you don't mind me, can I say something? Yes. What happened is, this access right here, where we put the fence, we can actually cut this tree down, which is on the right of way of the road. It's not on the land trust, but the right of way of the road is right here. Yeah. And actually, considering the right of way of Saw Pit Road, which is a narrow, dead-end road, we can access right here where this truck's parked. We can move this truck and we can access there and eliminate this. But I would prefer to deal with the land trust because we've utilized it and it's convenient and it works well, to not cut the tree down, to try to work out some kind of solution where we did put mafia blocks in here, and there was a reason for that. When storms come in and you have 30 acres of salt hay that doesn't get harvested anymore, acts as a dam, but then just in case with really heavy storms, that acts as a dam so the water never comes onto the property.
How long do you think it will take to complete that operation, or consideration?
Yeah, well, we were hoping we could work something like that. You know.
Yeah, well, I said, how long will it take
Well,
to conclude it? Before the next meeting or after?
Well, the Rick D'Amico does all of our excavation. He's
Okay.
the one who did the perk tests and things like that. Rick D'Amico set the mafia blocks for us, so to adjust them would be a phone call. And if he's available, he just got back from vacation too. You know, we could adjust the mafia blocks. The issue we have is that just the way the parking is set up now, it would be very convenient if we could work out something with the land trust, because I can't see where the land trust would be so excited about this piece of property, because it just abuts the marsh, and the mafia blocks just sort of just create a perimeter.
Is the parking just during business hours or is that overnight?
No, 5 commercial trucks. that
Commercial,
park
so they're
here.
overnight?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
okay.
parked here all the time. The people that work for the company park their cars along here. Okay, there's 7 employees.
Dave, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
How is an inadvertent taking a zoning issue that we need to take up for this application?
How is it being zoned?
Yeah, how is it an issue? Yeah, how is it that, you know, it seems like it's an issue between 2 private parties that needs to be resolved
I
at
suppose
some point,
that's
but I don't
true,
understand.
But you're approving a site plan that shows access that they don't legally have.
Well, I mean, what I envision that we're approving is we're only approving within the confines of the red
It's
lines.
his drawing, not my
Yeah.
drawing, and it shows gravel and crushed rock driveway.
Sure.
And that's how they're apparently getting their trucks there.
Yeah, that's what it
You're
seems
going to approve
like
the
that.
fact that they're parking their trucks there, unless they're flying them by helicopter, you're approving that access, and if the access is a
Okay.
known violation, you've got a zoning problem.
Sure, thank you.
Hopefully we're going to work that out.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Would you like us to continue this until you do
Well,
work that
It sounds
out?
like you're already continuing it for another 2
Yeah,
weeks
do you
regardless.
think that you could get it
Right.
resolved then, or would you like us to continue it for
No,
4
but I'm
weeks?
going to at least bring it to the.
We just want to make sure you got enough
that.
time to negotiate it, so.
A little less.
Can we push it out one more session to the 9:20?
9/7.
No, can we push it out to one more,
10.
to the 21st hearing?
9/21.
December's around 9/20.
Run out of time.
Well, when was this first agreement, is it? No, we're not gonna run out of time.
Well, you have 35 days
From the
to
opening.
hear, when you open the public
Today's the
hearing.
opening, and the 21st is 30, 20, yeah, we'll get it resolved.
Okay, so you want to do it
Yeah, the 21st, that way the
9/21?
parties can try to get arrested.
Okay,
All right, so the 21st? You make
yes.
it till the 21st, that'll at least give me a one board meeting.
Perfect.
Rather than I've got right now.
Okay.
We can give you an extension if you need it.
Okay, that's true.
So
Yep.
Yeah,
I made a motion.
Myself. Schedule us for the second meeting of the month of September.
Second.
Any questions?
You give Phil the second.
One second. Really wanted it. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye, please.
Okay, so we'll continue this.
The 21st.
First.
Yep. September?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to be away.
If all the parties agree, that's okay.
Good work.
Continue on.
We're just going right through this. We're doing this meeting.
Next one is Gary Terwilliger, 1725 Little Meadow Road, map 97, lot 32, zone R8. Special permit accessory apartment in detached accessory structure, 273-19 to be continued to 9/7 for second hearing. So Gary Terwilliger, 1725 Little Meadow Road.
I'm Gary Terwilliger with a 1725. I have an outbuilding on my property that's built myself. I'm a self-employed carpenter slash whatever you want to consider myself. It's pretty nice, and it's time for me to get some accrued income out of that property as I'm entering my third child into college right now. And also with the taxes that I've been paying on this building in this town of almost $1,100 a month for my property taxes on that property, I'd love to see some extra income come in on that property. It's almost like I've been being taxed on this building is almost as a living property already. So I might as well see if I can't follow through with the steps to make this a completed project.
Does it comply, Reggie, with all the rules of? So it's been
Yes.
in existence for more than 10 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it has. I did a
Worksheet
zoning diagnostic sheet for it. You should have a copy of it.
I do not have a copy of that. I will.
Did it come with your papers? Yeah, I did one. No, it was already in their folder.
Okay, is there one outside entrance?
There's two. One of them is pool access because it serves as somewhat of a pool house now, changing facility, keep wet feet out of my house.
Is there currently a bathroom and kitchen facility separate from the single-family dwelling?
There's a bathroom and kitchen facility in there that aren't up and running because I don't have a septic system up for it yet. So this is what I'm,
Yeah,
You'll have to expand this,
Excuse me.
you'll have to expand the septic system?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You'll have to expand the septic system?
Either expand or put in another one. I mean,
Yeah, put another one.
I'm up for, whatever the town has me
Okay.
do.
Is this
Well, there is a
is
letter
this a
here.
single level or gonna make it two?
Excuse me?
Is this a single level or you want two levels?
Levels?
Yeah, right, first floor, second floor.
It's just a single floor plan
Okay.
in the building. I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing. I'm
Okay.
telling you.
It's all right.
There's a letter here from Dennis Johnson, who's the director of our health.
Yep.
Did you receive this letter?
No.
Okay, I'll give it to you when I'm done reading it. It's dated August 15th. It says, soil testing conducted on the applicant's property on June 7th, I'm assuming he means 2016,
Yeah, just recently.
revealed suitable soil and sufficient area to install a code-complying septic system. A separate septic system to serve the applicant's proposed apartment is required to be constructed prior to occupancy. A water supply for the apartment will be provided through a private well. Based upon soil test results and plan review, it's recommended the applicant's proposal be approved with the following conditions. Property owner is required to install a septic system to serve new apartment prior to occupancy.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
You can have this. I have some.
Is there a garage with this property?
No, it's storage underneath. I'm a self-employed carpenter, so it's got all sorts of noise under there.
There's enough off-street parking?
Yeah,
You
definitely.
think more than 3 vehicles?
Yep,
Okay.
paved and everything, it's all set.
And it has a minimum floor area of 400 square feet, minimum floor area of 400 square feet?
Yes, sir.
No more than 1,000?
No.
Oh, you have the worksheet, okay.
I was just gonna go through it by one until we got there. This will make it. Just under that 1,000. And we waived the professional repair site plan. I don't have any further questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Okay, anybody in the audience have any questions, any comments? So this will then go to a second hearing on 9/7.
9/17. Wetlands has to
There's no 9/17.
9/21.
This says 9/7, that's why I read it.
9/21.
9/21, this is going to go to a second portion of the public hearing on 9/21.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Next one is Jonathan Lowe and Katrina Barzo, 4461 Durham Road, map 22, lot 23-3, special, zone R8, special permit for human habitation of yurt, 273-36. This is the second public hearing, I believe?
It is.
Okay.
For the record, Timothy Shields, 20 Water Street, Guilford, Connecticut, for the applicant and property owner Jonathan Lowe.
Okay.
This is the second hearing. I unfortunately wasn't involved in the first hearing, okay, so the commission will bear with me a little bit. I believe the reason why we're here, the structure itself was built about a year ago, so it's been in existence for a while. It became apparent that there was an issue with the use of the structure, which is what's generated the application that's before the commission. The structure essentially has been being used by the family as essentially a play area for their children. There has been some improvements made within the structure. There is a letter or a memo in the file from Dennis Johnson from, I believe, July 12th that outlines some concerns about items in the structure that Dennis Johnson felt should be removed. The applicant and the property owners are fully willing and ready and able to come into compliance with Dennis Johnson's recommendations to remove those additional items from the structure. And I think what we're hoping to do tonight is clarify the use of the structure. This is a yurt, it's a round dome type of building. There's only a few other of these structures in the town. There's maybe 2 or 3 other yurts in the town itself. Unfortunately, I think because of that, the town had no other classification for this structure other than a shed when the original building permit was submitted. And I think that's led to some of the confusion about the structure and what its intended uses for. What we're proposing to do tonight is submit a updated statement of use, which we hope will bring the use of the property and the structure, within Dennis Johnson's concerns and the concerns of Reggie Reed as well. I'd like to submit that now, if I may. A bunch of copies for everybody else. In a moment, I will read the statement into the record. Sir? Thank you. You're welcome. And I do have some other copies which I'll leave up here. I know the audience is interested. The statement of use is for 4461 Durham Road, map 122, lot 23-3. The structure has been, will be outfitted in a manner which supports occasional use and occupancy by humans. And this is probably the most critical portion of it. It will not be outfitted in a manner that supports or is intended to support use as an accessory apartment. Specifically, it is represented that the premises will not be used for overnight sleeping accommodations. We go on to state that uses intended to fall within this statement of use include daytime and evening use as a workshop, study, studio, and recreation room. There will be no running water nor septic services on the premises. A refrigerator and microwave may be installed and permitted. Sofas and other furniture usual and customary to uses described above are permitted. No beds shall be permitted. And I really would like to emphasize the portion of this statement of use that deals with the no sleeping. I think that has been a big concern of the town and probably some of the neighbors as well. We really wanted firmly stated in the record that the intention here is not to use this as an accessory apartment. It's an accessory structure on the property. The primary use of it has been and will be essentially as a play area for the Lowe's children. It's used maybe a few times a week. Obviously, I think as the year progresses and the colder weather comes in, it'll probably be used less. But essentially a few times a week. So it's really infrequent casual use. what we're trying to do is not pigeonhole the property owners into the specific category of playroom. There may be some other uses for it, which is why we crafted the definition as we did. So we're hoping that that definition would bring it within the parameters that it needs to be for the town for the special permit. We also hope that it will also satisfy Dennis Johnson's concerns. And we are willing to make the CO issued here for the permit specifically conditional upon compliance with Dennis's Johnson's concerns, which would be removal of the bed, the kitchen sink, kitchen stove, portable water supply pump, and wastewater collection container. So that would have to be done prior to the town issuing the CO for the structure. And that would be part and parcel to, as a condition to approval for the permit tonight. We hope that that will satisfy the town's concerns. I know there are several letters in favor of support of the use of the structure that are in the town file. There are also some letters of opposition. But again, I think a lot of that comes down to a misunderstanding about the terminology used regarding the structure and the town zoning regulations themselves. The regulations refer to, human habitation. And I think when a lot of people hear those words, they're thinking it's going to be an apartment and someone's going to be living there. That's not the intention. It's not the true purpose of the structure. And it's not what they plan on using it for.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
The last time that they were here, we had sort of advised them to go to Dennis Johnson and see what it is, to come in compliance with him. And basically, if they were going to remove all of these items from their structure, there would really be no necessary need for this hearing today because it wouldn't be in violation of the health code, and therefore there wouldn't be any necessary application for a human habitation because there would be no human habitation. Right. So are you here today to ask for a special permit to allow for human habitation?
That's the way it's phrased in the regulations.
And
I think the issue is it's the use. This isn't, normally we think of a shed, it's something you have your lawnmower and your garden tools in, you're going in and out here and there throughout the course of your day, on the weekends. This is something that might be used for a few hours at a time. So there could be somebody in there, they might be playing a board game, they may be painting.
My impression just would be that that's not human habitation, so they can, be there, right? I mean, I don't know.
I
don't know
intend to
what you're
agree
sort
with
of looking. I mean, I just don't understand. My inclination is that they have an absolute right to have that yurt set up as long as it's not set up as, having a bed, kitchen sink, kitchen stove, portable water supply, pump and wastewater collection container. As long as it doesn't have those things, they can have the yurt. And I just don't understand really what we're approving tonight.
The permit is for the use. Ms. Reed and I have had a couple of conversations on this. I think Ms. Reed has a difference of opinion in terms of what's required here for the structure.
Whenever somebody wants to use an accessory structure for a playroom for their family, for a home office, for a studio, it's a special permit application because it's the use inside the building. It's not like if it's just, as Attorney said, a shed where you store stuff. People are going to be in there doing something. In this case, you have this statement of use from the applicant. They have a television in there, they're going to have a sofa in there, it has heat, it has air conditioning.
So we need to approve this special permit of human habitation for them to be able to maintain a structure that is like a
It's going to be
play
a recreation area, essentially, for the
area. So
family.
they wouldn't have you're saying that they don't have an absolute right to that?
So I was just going to ask, one of the representing property owners was complaining that they were trespassing across the right-of-way. So if it's used as a playroom, why do you have to have cars driving through other people's property to get to a playroom? I'm not connecting that.
We don't. It doesn't, and we had stopped parking there because, oh, sorry, I'm Jonathan Lowe, 4461 Durham Road. So we were kind of really blindsided by all of this. We started this process with the town. We filled out the forms the way the town told us to fill them out, called the structure what the town thought that they should call it, involved them in all the processes when we were found anywhere along the way. We came through the town office. We weren't asked to ask our neighbors for permission. When we were given that notice, I went around to all those neighbors, including that neighbor that you're discussing who has a problem with us or was talking about us trespassing on the driveway. At that meeting, which was weeks before we came here, they didn't say, and I point blank asked them if they had any problems, please let me know, which they said nothing. I mean, this process to build this thing took over a year. At any one time, they could have said, hey, we don't want you driving over this tiny stretch of road for a split second to deliver materials to the backside of your property. So since then, I haven't taken my car. I dare not take my car up there because I don't want them to complain. We have built a path from the house that is easily walkable from the back end of our property to this property, so you can go quickly. We even put in a zip line for the kids so they can get from one end to the other. So again, if it's a matter of not driving, that moment across, that's fine. We don't need to do that.
Yeah, I don't recall the site plan. Is this structure located very close to your neighbor's property yet far away from your house?
So it is not viewable from any of our neighbor's property. And so going back to the videos that we've submitted in the pictures, the only way you can see this is driving up the dirt road that leads to the other properties in the neighborhood. That's the only time you see this structure, right? So you can't see it if you're in your house at any of the other properties. This isn't something that you see when you look out your window. It is we put it in a very specific part of our property because we thought that was the best place to put it. That's where it looked best. That's where we wanted it. And again, the way we understood it, it was well within our rights to do so because it was on our property. What happened was that the previous owners of our house, when the subdivision was created, gave rights for that road to go through that property. So our property actually extends even beyond this road. It's just I don't have access to the road because I don't have a home in this subdivision. So if it's a matter of using the road and not driving things there, if we need to remove something, I'm hoping that my neighbors are okay with us driving a truck up to remove it so I don't have to walk it through the woods. But that's fine. That's not an issue for us. Because again, this isn't an apartment. This isn't a living structure. It has no toilet, no running water. It's a place where I've held Cub Scout meetings for my Cub Scouts. It's a place where I hung out while my father was gone, and I viewed many of the pictures that this woman has taken of us and of the property while she would drive by or he would drive by and taking pictures of us. In many of the pictures they have, my father was actually out of the country. I was driving his car, parking it there and going into this place because it's a great place to unwind. It's a great place for me to sit and play guitar or watch a movie with my kids. But if it's a problem driving my car up that road, no big deal. I don't need to do that anymore. And we haven't since we came into that meeting, just so we wouldn't cause any more problems for our neighbors. And again, they never said boo to us.
What is the dictionary definition of a yurt? Never heard of it before. What is a yurt?
Souped up super tent on steroids? I don't know.
Well, I looked it up on...
Did you look it up?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
It is, by definition, a portable, removable...
Yep, it's removed, yeah.
It's supposed to be portable because it's mostly used by nomadics.
Portable? A tent?
Yes. They can pack it up and move in a few minutes. It's used in Mongolia and other places in the world.
Correct.
Thank you.
This is a little
Provides them
more
housing.
substantial than that, though.
Had no idea.
Yeah, and there's others in
That's been a year
the
effort.
But it's well built, so you can take it with that.
Very strict.
Thank you.
But there are at least 2 or 3 other yurts in
They're already in
so-
town.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question for Rescue. Are there any requirements for any type of sanitary facilities for spaces that are being used for occasional, what do we call it, human habitational use, or whatever we're calling it?
Planning and zoning doesn't have requirements.
The health code.
And
Okay, so
Would have something.
does the health code?
I don't know. We have the memo
We have the memo
from
saying
Dennis
that they
Johnson.
can't have these things there. I just, if they are removing anything that has to do with human habitation. why-
Well, they're taking the stove and the refrigerator and the sink, is it?
And the bed.
The bed.
And a pump and wastewater collector.
Yeah.
How is this not a
And
man
they're,
cave?
and they're agreeing to the statement of use.
How is this not a man cave then? Which I think they're about probably 2,000 in Guilford.
There might be.
So this structure is going to have people in it, and, you know, you're always worried about the risk of fire and all the other things. This meets building code, right?
Yes, it does. It was
All
inspected.
permits were taken out. There were a couple that were unfortunately after the fact, but they've all been taken out. They've all been, inspected and
And the
everything.
one that was out back was the electrician, that's only because he told us he took the permit out. We found out he didn't ask him to, when he's done.
Fire department's checked the wood burning stove.
So again, from a health code standpoint, do they need to have, if they're using it for occasionally human occupancy, whatever you want to define it as? I mean, does your man cave, if it's in a separate building, need to have somewhere to take care of your man needs?
Right, my man needs, again, walk, it's like a 5-second walk, and now that there's a zip line, it takes me about a half a second to get from one end of the property to the other.
How big is it?
It's about 700 square feet. I mean, it's around.
Yeah, that sounds like all right.
Okay. Are there any questions from anybody in the audience?
So that structure would be about the size of this room then?
No. So it would fit in this room.
No, it's 700 square feet?
This room is
So what's the diameter, just roughly? I can calculate.
Bigger than one.
It's been a long time.
30 by 30 by 900.
30 feet.
It's actually 29 and a half. 29 and a half.
This is 36 by 40. So 720, so it's about the size of this room, square foot wise.
So again, we hope that the statement of use will satisfy the town and Dennis Johnson's concerns. We're fully willing to come into compliance with his requirements. The property owner's already represented that they are willing to cease use of the roadway and have ceased use of that private roadway in the future.
Good.
Okay.
Should I restate it?
Okay. Is there anybody here that wants to make further comments about this? Mr. Beatty?
Favor or opposition?
Either way at this point.
Either way, let's speak in favor, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm Stephanie Bretman. We live next door to the property. We're at 4461, right to the left side of the property. We've had the privilege of touring it. It's a beautiful facility, or whatever we want to call it, a man cave. It's very classy. I find it shocking that it would actually bother anybody. I guess what I just heard, if they're on someone else's property and willing to make adjustments for that, outside of that, or not willing?
There's an easement that we have.
That goes across our
Okay.
property.
Okay.
And we just say, and we have not got access to that easement. So
Okay.
we're saying, well, we'll use the easement.
Outside of that, I mean, it is a beautiful place, and this family is a lovely family, and they just want to spend some time with the kids, the grandchildren there. I mean, we're out in our backyard all the time, and I don't see any harm done whatsoever, so we just wanted to speak on their behalf.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Beatty? That was it?
Yeah, I'll speak in opposition. Jeffrey Beatty, 25 Boston Street. I'm here representing Kendrick and Mary Norris, who are neighboring owners.
Yep.
I've got a letter from them that I'd like to read, if I might, and I've got copies to submit to you, so submit the copies. Here's the copies if you want.
Take one, pass
Take one,
one.
pass one, exactly, exactly right.
I know the drill.
So this is from Kendrick and Mary Norris. They're at 4423 Durham Road. At the last hearing, we established that the owners of 4461 do not have a right-of-way over a private drive, and that a secondary residence is against zoning laws in our area. We would like to reiterate our opposition to the Varzos application for a special permit allowing the yurt to be granted a designation as habitable space, as we are concerned that what is represented tonight will not be what actually occurs on the property without our constant monitoring. We do not want to take on that role. The applicant's actual use of the yurt was substantially different from what was proposed to the town, a, quote, work shed, unquote, and to us and other neighbors, a, quote, treehouse for the grandchildren, unquote. And if this application is approved, we fear the worst. As we understand it, Mr. Varzos paid for the yurt. We also understand that he rented his condo on Poplis Road on Airbnb against that association's rules. We conclude that he lived at the yurt on the days and nights that his condominium was rented, resulting in the overnight use of the yurt. He parked his car in the driveway through the night, ran the lights and television noise late at night, and used it as a second home or cottage. We're concerned that if the application is granted, this pattern will continue, or that the yurt itself will be offered as an overnight rental. Without our monitoring what is to prevent them from bringing the bed and other aspects of habitable space back in. Even if these owners do not use the yurt as an accessory apartment, what happens when the property is sold and the yurt has been approved as habitable? Won't that open the door to the new owners to furnish out the space as the applicants have and create a second residence on the lot against the zoning of our area? We do not relish the role of policing our neighbors and do not want to go through this again. For these reasons, we ask that this special permit for habitation be denied. Thank you for your time and consideration, and it's signed by Kendrick and Mary Norris. That's that letter. I've also prepared a letter. It's a little bit longer, unfortunately. I'll pass that along to everyone. This is addressed to the members of the commission. The above referenced application seeks a special permit under 273-36 of the Guilford zoning regulations, which sets forth the requirement that accessory structures for permanent year-round use and for human habitation can only be used for such purposes when authorized by special permit. That's what section 273-36 of your regs say. If granted, the special permit would allow human habitation of a yurt constructed on the property located on 4461 Durham Road. The application recites that the statement of proposed use is to use the structure as a playhouse for children supervised by their grandfather. From Attorney Shields' comments, I guess they're amending that statement of use at tonight's hearing. The structure itself and its history are of concern to my clients, Kendrick and Mary Norris, and they are in opposition to the granting of the application on the grounds that the application does not satisfy the conditions set forth in your regulations necessary to approve the application. The yurt was originally constructed following the submission of an application for a building permit for a work shed to the Guilford Building Department. On April 15th of 2016, a notice of zoning violation from the Guilford Zoning Enforcement Officer was sent to Mr. and Mrs. Varzo, Mr. Lowe and Ms. Varzo, following an inspection of the structure, which revealed that the structure had a living room type setup, including a cooking stove, a wood stove, and that electrical services had been installed without a permanent electric permit having been obtained. In that notice, zoning enforcement officer advised that the use of the structure was in violation of section 273-36A, and that the structure was being used for human habitation. This application followed. Section 273-36A of your regs provides, just find it here, that accessory structures may be used for permanent year-round purposes and for human habitation only when so authorized by special permit granted by this commission in accordance with Article 10 of your regulations and Section 273-99 of your regulations. And that's the reference that I believe Ms. Reed was making earlier when she said they needed to have a special permit for the types of uses that they want, that they're proposing even after the removal of the items that they have, because it's going to be an ongoing permanent use of the structure for those purposes.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting that if they remove anything having to do with human habitation from that, from the yurt, that they would not be able to use the yurt as, as like a shed?
No, they could use it as a shed.
Okay. Could they use it as a playhouse?
If it weren't heated.
If it weren't heated, could they use it as a playhouse?
I think they could.
Okay.
Right.
So I just want to know what your threshold is of what our denial would mean.
Sure.
Because, you know, if we were to say no to them, they don't necessarily have to take it down. They just have a less use of the.
A more limited
Yeah.
use of the.
And I just want to know what that limited use you would envision,
Well,
once you get to that.
Well, the examples in section 273-36A of your regs says, it says, I'll read it right from the text. Accessory structures in residential zones may be used for permanent year-round purposes and for human habitation only when so authorized by special permit granted by this commission in accordance with Article 10 and section 273-99 of these regulations. And then the section goes on to give examples. Such uses may include studios, offices, guest accommodations, and supplementary living areas, and will typically include heating and toilet facilities. So that contemplates the year-round use that's referenced earlier in the structure. And it goes on to say, but it also contemplates, as Commissioner Johnson was asking earlier, that there'll be toilet and facility.
Well, that, I mean, I guess that's a follow-up question that I'll have right now. Would this start the process that once it's there for 10 years, and once it's once they come and ask for a permit to put a septic system in there, then they can potentially turn this into an apartment?
Into an accessory structure. It would be a dwelling on the site. For
Okay,
the
so
10
that's
years.
what, okay.
Yeah. And then let's see.
You mentioned one of the good uses is guest accommodations?
That's what your regulations
Well, doesn't
say.
that imply that they'll be sleeping there too?
Right, which is why you require a special permit for human habitation. And that's why the application that's before you tonight is a special permit for human habitation. And my point is that if you're not going to satisfy your regulations, then this commission doesn't have the authority to grant the application.
That's a stretch. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's a stretch, and I'll explain why.
It is in my mind. Go ahead.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. So section, and then I go on to say section 273-36 gives some examples of the uses contemplated by the regulation and recites studios, offices, guest accommodations, and supplementary living areas, and will typically include heating and toilet facilities. A review of the letter from Dennis Johnson concerning the application reveals that the property not only has the heat and electric facilities noted in Ms. Reed's letter, but also a sink, refrigerator, stove, bed, and other items indicating its use as a dwelling unit. As defined under the Guilford zoning regulations, a dwelling unit is any group of rooms located within a building devoted to residential use and forming a single habitable unit with facilities which are used or intended to be used for living, sleeping, cooking, and eating by one family. At the time of Mr. Johnson's inspection, all of the facilities set forth in the definition of dwelling unit were located within the structure. It's important to remember, at least from our perspective, that the original application for the building permit for the structure described it as a work shed and not a living area. When reviewing this application, this commission needs to follow the standards set forth in Article 10 of your regulations. Those standards are set forth in section 273-80 of your regulations and require that you find that the proposed use and the proposed buildings and structures conform to those standards in order for you to grant the application. And so 273-80 subsection A recites that the location, type, character, and size of the use of any building or structure in connection therewith shall be in harmony with and conform to the appropriate and orderly development of the town and the neighborhood, and will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent lots or impair the value thereof. Now, I brought with me a definition of the word yurt. And according to the Merriam-Webster website, a yurt is defined as a circular domed tent of skins or felt stretched over a collapsible lattice framework and used by pastoral peoples of Inner Asia, Mongolia. Also, a structure that resembles a yurt, usually in size and design. I go on to say what the definition is in my letter. The structure as built does not conform with and is not in harmony with the appropriate or orderly development of the town, or more importantly from my client's perspective, the neighborhood. We've heard that there are 2 or 3 of these throughout town, not in this neighborhood though. Specifically, there's now a 2-story circular structure located in a remote area of the woods in the rear of the owner's property, out of sight from their main residence, but in full view of the driveway used by the neighbors to access their homes. The character and design of the structure are not in compliance with those of the neighboring houses, which are contemporary structures built in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The houses in the Ledgeview subdivision are all located on 4-acre lots in the R8 zone and are located in secluded private areas. They're not set on the right-of-way through the subdivision like the yurt is. Section 273-80 subsection B provides that the nature and location of the use and of any building or structure in connection therewith shall be such that there will be adequate access to it for fire protection purposes. While there is a private right-of-way near the subject property, the use of the right-of-way is not permitted for 4461 Durham Road. Specifically, the right-of-way was created to serve lots 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the Ledgeview subdivision. The proposed structure is located on Lot 3. In fact, a portion of Lot 3 is encumbered by the right-of-way, and the applicant, whether knowingly or unknowingly, has unlawfully used the right-of-way to construct and access the yurt. They've been trespassing. 273-80 subsection C provides that the streets serving the proposed use are adequate to carry prospective traffic, and provision is made for entering and leaving the property in such a manner that no undue traffic hazard or congestion will be created. And while Durham Road may support the proposed use, as that's the primary access to the main residence, the applicant has no right to use the right-of-way immediately adjacent to the structure, although that is the means the applicant used to build and typically used until recently to access the structure. While the applicant's lot satisfies some portions of 273-80 subsection D, and that the lot is of sufficient size and dimensions to permit conduct of the use and construction and maintenance of the proposed buildings and structures, it does not sufficiently support the maintenance of sanitary facilities in a manner that will not be detrimental to the neighborhood or adjacent lots. As noted in Mr. Johnson's letter, the soil surrounding the structure will not support a septic system. And this goes back to Mr. Johnson's question earlier about whether or not the use of the facility for sanitary facilities was a requirement of the zoning regulations. And I believe that 273-80 subsection D requires that the accessory structure have the use of sanitary facilities, and it won't. This approximately 500-foot walk between the yurt and the house located in the lot is of sufficient distance, and I believe Mr. Johnson references it in his letter, to make use of any sanitary facility at the house and practical, particularly at night. 273-80 subsection E relates to architectural design and provides that the architectural design and styles of all buildings and other structures to be erected in the lot shall be such as to not conflict with the architectural design and in style of adjacent properties. We would argue that the construction of the yurt is certainly not the case with regard to the neighboring properties. The yurt does not comply with the style or design of any of the surrounding houses, and its bright white roof is not in keeping with the neighboring parcels. While the applicant makes note that the yurt is shielded from the view of the neighbors' homes, they still have to drive by it in plain view when leaving or entering the property over the private right-of-way. Subsections F, G, H, and I of 273-80 deal with the effects on historic properties, drive-through service at restaurants, movie theaters, playhouses, nightclubs, and adult entertainment establishments, and dog care facilities, and are not applicable to this application. Subsection J requires that the applicant obtain approval from the Inland Wetlands Commission if the proposed activity involves a regulated activity. I don't know if a determination has been made whether or not it's within an upland review area of the wetlands and thus would need inland wetlands review. I just don't know. A building permit was submitted initially, but I don't know if any analysis was done.
I looked at that when I approved the building permit.
Okay. And I just didn't know.
How long has the structure been there?
Just about a year.
Just 1 year? So it's new?
Yeah.
So all these things were looked at zoning wise before you built it, right? You got a permit?
Yes, we got, and again, the reason why the initial permit was taken out as a workshed is because that's what we were instructed to do by the town. And I know that that led to a lot of confusion because this isn't your typical, there's not a lot of yurts going up in Guilford. But again, he tried to follow absolutely all the steps of the.
So you did due diligence, is that correct? Ready?
So subsection K provides that
15
driveways,
pages, you kidding?
driveways, parking areas, and other impervious surface shall be set back a minimum of 8 feet, with a minimum side yard setback for a principal structure for the R8 zone, whichever is greater from any property line when a proposed special permit use is located in a residential zone. In the R8 zone, the side yard setback is 20 feet, and I don't know if the application satisfies this requirement.
There's a survey on file that I have them submit when they were building the yurt because somebody complained about the location and that they thought it was too close to their property line. It does meet the 50-foot setback requirement and the 20-foot setback requirement. The survey was done by Jonathan, Bascom and Benjamin, LLC.
So aside from the fact that the applicant's history associated with the yurt raises the concerns that my client voiced earlier, that the property will be used in compliance with the special permit should one be granted, the application that's before you has failed to satisfy the requirements, all of the requirements of 273-80. Specifically, subsections A, B, C, D, and E have not been satisfied. We've addressed subsections J and K. As a result, this commission cannot approve the application as it does not satisfy the requirements of section 273-36 of your regulations. So for all the foregoing reasons, we respectfully request that the application for the special permit for human habitation be denied. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
If we were to choose to deny, we could hang it on the fact that it doesn't comply with the architectural style of the other houses in the area because it's not a modern, they're all built like contemporary homes, and this is a round structure that looks like a tent. Is that correct?
Right, because one of the criteria for your consideration when one of your standards for deciding whether to vote to approve or deny the special permit is whether the location, type, character, and size of the use and of any building or other structure is in harmony with and conforms to the appropriate and orderly development of the town and the neighborhood. That's subsection A. And then subsection E specifically references architectural design. It says the architectural design and style of all buildings and other structures to be erected on the lot shall be such as not to conflict with the architectural design and style of adjacent properties.
So with that on the table, what you just said, we can't really consider this then.
That's what my argument is, that it doesn't satisfy your criteria.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick one? Section B talks about basically the fire department's access. Are they prohibited from using a private driveway that the owner does not have a legal right? I mean, it's not the owner using it, it's the fire department.
Right. I don't, from a practical perspective, I can't see that the fire department wouldn't use the driveway to access it. The point is that they don't have the right, it's not as of right to get there.
Right. I'm just curious, like, you know, of all the things we can list, of reasons not to support it. You know, 20/20 hindsight, you build it where the fire department can access it from your main house as opposed to accessing it off someone else's driveway, but just.
Reggie, if this is an application for habitation, was there any further steps that needed to be taken by the fire commission or by the fire department to review the site, or have they already? I know they obviously reviewed it for the wood-burning stove.
They looked at the wood-burning stove.
But does this trigger something that the fire department needs to determine that they can access it if it's going to be used for human habitat? But I guess if they came out there for...
They would use that driveway.
No, I know that, but I just want to make sure that there isn't a problem with the trucks getting down that driveway. But I guess there wouldn't be because...
There wouldn't be because
they could get there for
built
these...
so that they can access the other homes.
And in fairness, there are other homes.
Yeah, I had some questions for Attorney Shields. Attorney Shields. So can you maybe address to us why you think that the yurt fits in our special permit requirements?
A, B, C, and D. I don't know. Did you get a copy of the letter?
I did get a copy.
Okay. You can take this for now, if you'd like to look at it.
Based upon Attorney Bee's presentation, unfortunately, my opinion is that the majority of his points and contentions would really have been more appropriately put forth a year ago when this permit was first taken out and the structure was being built. The structure's been built. What we're here for tonight is a special permit about the use, not the structure itself. The structure exists, whether you approve or deny tonight, the structure will still exist. And that's not going to change. It was properly permitted, it was built to town, specifications, to town code. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, there is some confusion regarding the phraseology, the wording used in the application, but that was at the direction of the town officials, because a yurt, quote unquote, doesn't fit in with the normal definitions that are listed on the town, building permits. It's not, a shed, it's not a primary residence, it's not going to fit within those areas. Attorney Beatty spent a lot of time talking about the fact that the structure doesn't fit within the character of the neighborhood, that these were modern homes that were there. There were modern homes 20, 30 years ago. I would offer the contention that the yurt is more of a modern home now. These are very green homes. They're used throughout the country and throughout the world. This is contemporary now. So, your times and definitions change over what's contemporary and what's the status quo. You go back to the 1980s, your 4-bedroom colonial was the standard of the day, and a lot of people were opposed to the modern home that was probably built in this particular neighborhood. More split levels, things of that nature. Okay, so the structure itself, as I mentioned, fits within the parameters of the code. It satisfied the building department. There is a site plan on file that was requested by the building department. It's there, it meets all the setback requirements. Our specific stated standard of use would be a condition of approval here for this permit, and it would specifically prohibit not only the current owners, but a present, a future owner from changing the use of the structure, okay, because it would be prohibited from having overnight occupancy, which I think is the major concern of the neighbors, is that someone would be using it overnight for sleeping accommodations, or even, more permanent basis, and that would not be prohibited with our statement of use. We've also acknowledged the fact that they do not have the deeded way, or right to use that right of way, and they have stopped and will not use that right of way in the future.
Attorney Beebe, do you see any advantage to your client by having them agree sort of today that this will not be used as a for overnight accommodations, and that will be a condition of sort of our approval, and that basically would, well, first of all, would you take the position that that would eliminate their possibility from coming back in 10 years and trying to turn this apartment or this yurt into an apartment?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say what the regs are going to look like in 10 years.
Well, if
so.
the regs remain the same, because I think you've seen how slowly that they do change, let's assume that the regs remain the same. If this statement of use is on the land, it's not the land record, but if it's filed with the town, would you consider that being something that would make it impossible for them to make an application for this then to be an apartment?
I think it would put a hurdle in their way, but.
So would you see, if they didn't have the statement of use on the land records in 8 years or 9 years or 5, whatever they.
Years.
Well, no.
Accessory apartment
Let me
regulations just say, it's a building of X size that's been there for 10 years.
No,
It doesn't.
what I'm saying is that with this statement of use, I was asking Attorney Beebe, who's on the other side of this, does he consider that to mean that they would not be able to come here in 8 years or 9 years and make an application to use that accessory building as an apartment? And if that's the case, wouldn't you see that as an advantage to your client? Because if they weren't here with this application today, submitting the statement of use, then they could just let that sit and rot for 9 years, come back in 9 years and make an application for this to be an accessory apartment, and if it meets all the standards, I mean, we'll still have the same questions that we have today for special permit,
Right.
but then they will be able to turn that into a bed and breakfast, or whatever, not really bed and breakfast, but whatever they choose to have it be.
I think even if it's there for 10 years, assuming that the criteria for an accessory apartment remain the
The
same.
same, sure.
Like you have to be able to have a bathroom in it. And it's got to look like a garage, carriage house, or.
You've seen a lot of different approvals of these. I mean, I don't think that this is too far-fetched for us approving this as an apartment in 9 years.
It may not be.
Yeah.
You're right.
So
You're
what
right.
I'm suggesting to you is, do you see a benefit to recommending our approval pursuant to the statement of use, or no?
No.
Okay. But you would suggest to me that this statement of use would prohibit your clients from turning this into an apartment?
Yes, I would.
Done?
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
If I could just add, though, the criteria in 27380E isn't whether or not it's contemporary or modern, it's whether or not it conflicts with the architectural design and style of adjacent properties.
But if you can't, I mean, for the most part, if you can't see this building, how can you say, it conflicts? I mean, I don't, if it's generally not out of view of everybody, how can it conflict?
It's not out of view of my clients when they drive by it every day in and out of their property.
I drive up 77 every day, and I can think of 100 places that may be out of.
No doubt, I do the same, I do, we all do that. But those people aren't here before you with an application for a special permit, and where they've got to satisfy your criteria.
Okay.
Would this, would there have been a special permit to put this year up if they were coming originally for it to be with human habitation?
I would have to say yes
Okay.
to that. They were not instructed at the time.
I understand
They
that,
took the permit
but-
out to do that, but based on the regulations themselves, I would have to agree with that
So
statement. It wouldn't require it.
your argument that they should have brought this up before is sort of null, because they couldn't have, because it wasn't an option. But, I mean, personally, I think that having a statement of use that prohibits these people from turning this into an apartment in 9 years is much more valuable to the residents of that area than not. But that's just personal.
And, if sightlines are an issue, I'm sure my clients would simply be willing to allow nature to take its course and allow the area that was cut in for the parking to just fill back in.
Could you describe the area that was cut in for parking?
There are a bunch of pictures here.
There are some pictures in the file that show.
You want to mark the file?
So I'm just trying to get a mental image of what we're talking about here. So we have a structure that's almost the size of this room, and then we have a parking facility?
You have gravel, like driveway, right, it's rocks, it's crushed rocks.
And that's built next,
It's off of your road that leads to these properties and this.
Right, so you built a parking lot onto something you don't have the right of way
No,
to
you
do?
did not build a parking lot onto it.
The parking area is on their property.
Yes,
Right,
setback.
the only way to get to it is to trespass to the neighbor's property.
In which case, again, they brought that up for the first time as an issue, blindsided us this last meeting, didn't, even when I went to their door, asked if they had any problems, didn't say anything. So I'm fine with not using.
We've also stated tonight repeatedly that they've acknowledged they do not have the deeded rights to use that right-of-way, and they have ceased using it, and they won't use it in the future. That can be another condition of approval as well.
I did.
Jeff, you agree that we don't have sort of the authority to take down the structure currently?
Correct.
Okay, so
If it
that,
satisfies the setbacks and it's not in the wetlands, it's the use.
so it's there, and you are just objecting to the use of it having human
habitation, right.
Okay.
Okay.
Because even with the proposed restrictions, they're still requesting a permit for human habitation.
I understand. I'm just trying to be as cautious as possible for the residents. Are there any other questions?
It's not working.
Okay, we done?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. You're done?
I don't know if anybody else.
Anybody in the audience, anybody else have any comments about this? Someone move, we close this portion of the vote.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, so let's go. Dennis Pacelli, 150 Rockland Road, map 18, lot 4A.
Good evening, Todd Anderson from Anderson Associates.
Don't we?
I'm all set, yeah, we did it.
You did.
Was there an
Okay.
overlap?
Can we take a quick break?
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll take 5 minutes for break.
There you go. Take a load off.
100%. Todd Anderson from Anderson Associates, here tonight. My client has an existing garage on his property that is 1,172 square feet, and he desires to add another 325 square feet onto it, for a total of 1,497 square feet. The garage, as it sits right now, he has a large truck on his property that is a personal use truck that he wants to restore, and he's trying to expand the garage to make room so he can bring it inside to work on it. There's a letter, should be in the file, from him stating, I guess there were some concerns as to what the truck was going to be used for. It's an 18-wheeler tractor, and there were concerns that he was going to be using it for commercial purposes, which is not the case. There's a trailer on the property right now that houses his parts for that truck and other parts that he's going to be moving into the new garage, and that trailer will be disappearing upon building the garage. It's proposed to be in an existing graveled area adjacent to the garage. We went to Wetlands Commission last week and got permission from them to build it within the 100-foot review zone. And if you can see what the existing garage looks like, here's a profile of that. And then there is a profile of what the proposed garage is going to look like. If I can get this turned. So pretty much a minor addition to the existing garage. So if you have any questions for me.
So 150 Rockland Road is off of Lake Drive.
Yes.
It's a residential zone,
Yes.
but it's an isolated, I mean, that's a dirt road actually, isn't it?
No, it isn't. No, it's paved.
Is it?
Rockland Road is paved up to just past North Guilford Nurseries.
Okay, so that's, all right.
Are there any prohibitions or requirements? Is this a commercial vehicle? You said it was a tractor trailer.
It's a tractor trailer cab, but it's not being used for commercial purposes. It's an older truck that he's trying to restore.
Antique as in like more than 25 years old with antique plates on it?
I'm not
or-
sure what year vehicle it is. I do not know.
So, do we have a prohibition against commercial vehicles?
And how does one define a commercial vehicle?
The carrying capacity.
Well, this one's got it then, right?
Right, so this would be a commercial vehicle by definition of carrying capacity.
Well, the applicant is saying that this is his hobby.
Right, but you said that it's by
Truck.
carrying capacity.
So this is a full semi-tractor trailer? Includes the trailer or not the trailer? Just the tractor?
Just a tractor.
It's an 18-wheeler.
But that's not really the planning and zoning issue. That's a use issue that you would have to,
Well, he's not going to use it you're not going to see that truck rumbling up and down the road every day because he's driving it back and forth to work, driving it as his work vehicle. But you raise an interesting question. This is his hobby truck. He's restoring it. And we do have a regulation that says that you can't have a vehicle with a carrying capacity of over 1.5 tons in a residential neighborhood.
My hobby was restoring
right,
trains.
so planning and zoning, it's irrelevant what he has. You know, we're looking at the structure only. We can't say this a commercial vehicle or not. That's not our business.
Right.
It's the business of the enforcement agent. And frankly, whether or not we approve this, you really have to tell me he can't have that truck there.
Unless he gets a variance.
Yeah.
That's
So-
not your problem.
Right, that's not our issue tonight here.
So the real issue for us tonight, though, is the building.
Right.
The size of the structure.
Yes,
And it meets the
because
bulk
it's over
standards.
750 square feet.
And this meets all the standards for everything else.
Right, we checked the setback requirements.
Yes.
You saw it on the site plan.
This is
If
pretty
they've gotten
straightforward.
wetland approval for the building.
We have a 20-foot side yard setback, and the new addition that is part of the reason why it's coming out forward from the existing garage, because the existing garage is at 12 feet from the sideline. So the proposed addition, we're showing right at 20.2 feet from the sideline.
Right, so I guess what would happen is, well, certainly, I personally don't have any problem with the structure. He may want to decide whether he wants to do it if he can't have the
You might
vehicle
want
there.
to suggest perhaps they seek the variance in advance of construction of the garage.
Right.
Just a thought.
Right.
Okay.
All right, I'm good.
Anybody in the public, any questions, anybody? Any questions from the audience? No yeas or nays?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing for Mr. Passari.
Second, someone?
Continue it to September 7th,
Yes, especially.
No, it's a
special permit.
Okay, so this will be continued till September 7th, 9/7. All right. The last one's been withdrawn, so approve the revised agenda.
I make a motion to approve the revised agenda.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's okay, deliberation of public hearing items. Town of Guilford is number one, I think we've all agreed.
That's
Continued to
continued.
the 7th?
It's being continued. Did we say the 7th or the 21st?
Yeah, we said the 7th.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So 9/7, that is continued to 9/7. The next one was 86 Seaside Avenue. Has someone got a motion?
Yeah, I'll read a motion. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a coastal area management application for Brennan Nuttall, 86 Seaside Avenue, map 29, lot 119, for a prefabricated shed as shown on the application dated July 7, 2016. This application is approved with the conditions described in the letter written by Kevin McGee on August 17, 2016. The application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal management policy of the state of Connecticut.
Second.
Further discussion?
I wanted to just read one other document into the record, which we missed during the public hearing, from Dennis Johnson related to this property. And it just says that the applicant's proposed storage shed does not conflict with the location of the septic system currently existing on site.
Okay.
I'm going to support it, but again, I would reiterate that they should double check the building codes with
Yeah.
respect to,
Yes.
flood protection, but that's on them.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay. William, this is...
That goes to the 21st.
The next one is William Young and Ronald Pinocchio. This, we've already agreed to continue to the 21st of September. The next one is Gary Terwilliger. We've already agreed to continue that on 9/21. And so here we are at Jonathan Lowe and Katrina Barzo.
Is there a motion?
We have a motion in the file. Must be one here. All on the bottom here. So, okay. I don't see one in my packet.
Josh.
Yeah, I have. I'm looking for one in the last one.
Come on, Josh.
We're going.
I don't see it.
There's one in here. I saw it. It was awesome.
There is
Are you sure?
Yeah, here we go.
Yes, there's
Well, there's
a
not one in
motion.
our file this week, but I have one from last time. Does anyone particularly want to make the motion? 'Cause I will, but, okay. All right, so I'm going to make my motion that it's, go to the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission, approve a special permit for Jonathan Lowe and Katrina Varzos for human habitation of an accessory structure at 4461 Durham Road, map 122, lot 23-3, as shown on an application dated 4/29/2016. This application is approved with the following conditions: that the bed, kitchen sink, portable water supply, pump, and wastewater collection container shall be immediately and permanently removed, that the statement of use, which was submitted to the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission on August 17th, 2016, be complied with, and that this application is approved based upon a finding that conforms with 273-36 of the zoning code. The special permit is effective on August 26th, 2016, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Do we have a second?
Okay, I will make a second motion. If that does not get seconded. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission deny a special permit for Jonathan Lowe and Catherine Varzos for the human habitation of an accessory structure at 4461 Durham Road, map 122, lot 23-3, as shown on an application dated 4/29/2016. This application is denied based upon a finding that the building and proposed use will have an adverse impact on adjoining residences and property because it does not have a wastewater disposal system, cannot safely be used for its intended purpose.
Second.
My position is that I feel as though it's probably better for the community as a whole to have that statement of use be on this special permit application, to then prohibit them from coming back here in 9 years when it's right for them to make this into an apartment. I think that there's actually, and it might even be, I mean, it might be best, it would have been best maybe if the attorneys were able to craft something that they both were comfortable with, because I think that there really is a benefit to limiting the things that they can do at that site versus, it's going to be sort of open season there once we tell them that they can't have human habitation.
If all these things are being removed,
Yeah.
do they need the special permit?
Well, that's what we were arguing about.
That's what we were discussing,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we might as well require them to do these things versus, and having sort of.
If we approve it, they're gonna take it out. If we deny it, they're gonna take it out.
Yep. And they're gonna just do whatever that they wanna do anyway. That's why I would recommend that we vote this up at this point to put a further restriction on them in the future. Because the restriction of the inability to have overnight guests there will always be on the special permit application. It will always be in our land records. And therefore, it would be very difficult, although probably possible, but much more difficult than it would be without that statement of use, to come back to us and turn that accessory apartment into into that dwelling, into an accessory apartment.
9 years from now, it's been here, it would have met the regulations. Other than the fact that this is stated, I don't think that would really be that relevant 9 years.
Well, of course it will, because they're saying, that because there's a land record statement which says that this is not for overnight use.
Right, but that was then and this is now.
But that doesn't, I mean, you have on the land records that you cannot use this as an overnight facility. And so.
As it was approved back in 2016.
As it is approved today. I mean, our approval doesn't go away. Our approval will run with the land records forever.
But 10 years from now, we can just vote that away too.
Well, 10 years from now, we could all go to the moon. I mean,
Right.
I'm just saying that
But we
without this human habitation, without this statement of use, that they have decided that they're willing to comply with, it's open season. And then in 9 years, definitely will it be approved. I would be very hesitant to say that it would not be approved for an accessory apartment in 9 years from now. I just would. We don't know the makeup of the.
I just don't think that the restriction being put on it encumbers that right 9 years at all.
What was that?
I don't think that us saying this now and attaching these conditions now are gonna change that fact.
Phil,
in the
it's
use.
the same exact thing that if I were to put an easement on your property and sell my property. If I was your neighbor and I had an easement that went through your property,
This is
that,
different.
no, it isn't. Special
we can-
permits run with the land records.
Sure, but we can change that. It's within our
And
power to
Phil
change
could
it.
change it with the new landowner.
Right, so if you
Anyone
can
can
change it, I disagree. I think that as much as it's been approved for, as a storage shed or whatever, a tool shed, it certainly has, I mean, it's as big as this room.
I am not doubting for 1 second that if this came before us as a special permit for human habitation when it was first tried to be built, that it would have received significant sort of pushback.
Absolutely,
That-
and we wouldn't
the
have
fact-
approved it
Well,
because-
you don't know the makeup, but we don't know we would have approved it if we didn't. That's an unfair way to go.
But it
there
doesn't
would have
have
been
access,
backlash.
you didn't let me finish. It doesn't have access to any driveway. We would never have approved
There
it.
there would have been a lot more backlash, and I don't know how it would have turned out. I mean, I can't predict what's gonna happen tomorrow, whether or not, you know. So I think though, my point, and my only point is that in having more restrictions on things like this is sometimes better than not. I mean, I personally, if I were the homeowners, I mean, what we're saying to them is that, okay, this isn't for human habitation, but we could use it for just about anything. You know, I could go in there and sit all day long inside my yurt and leave lights on. If I wanted to leave my lights on all night long, you know, just sit there. No one's gonna tell me I can't do that. I mean, so I'm just saying that without these restrictions, we are sort of shooting ourselves in the foot. And I really wonder if we would be doing something worse for this community by not putting these restrictions on the land records.
Well, the restrictions are part of the zoning code, correct?
No, they're offering these
No,
restrictions.
this is different.
This is something that they're offering
Right.
to their neighbors. They're basically saying to their neighbors, nor will any of the future homeowners be allowed to have overnight guests without coming back, planning and zoning first, to get them to remove the special permit. And Reggie, have we ever removed a special permit? In your?
No, you
okay.
could revise it.
Revise it, okay.
Yeah, so that,
Okay.
and then we.
Yeah, I mean, since
But
I've been here.
no, special permits go with the land.
Yeah, I don't even know if we could, I mean,
They're
they'd
like
have
a
to go
variance.
variance, yeah, they'd have to go get a variance, so, yeah. So they have agreed to come up with more restrictions than our code currently has.
So,
I mean, it's fine, that's just my position. I have a hard time denying this, because they actually were given a building permit. The town allowed them to build this. Am I wrong about that?
But the
No one is taking
town
it down.
approved the shed.
Yeah. No one's taking it down, we're just approving a use.
So when we knew, when they applied for the permit to build something, we did not know it was gonna be a yurt.
No, we knew it was gonna be a yurt, we thought that it was gonna be used for tools.
but this is an awfully large tool.
Well, the problem with your argument is that we know that there are already other yurts in this town being used. And we don't know what they're being used for, but they've been allowed already. So now we've got two,
Do we
three.
know that?
Yes. It was, someone from the town hall said that there are yurts in this town already.
There.
Do they fit in with the architecture of the surrounding areas?
That's, well,
I don't
there's
know
one
how-
in the middle
what
of
does that
11
mean?
acres of property.
There's one that's used as an outside porch.
And I don't disagree with that for 1 second. I just think having the extra restrictions is probably better.
I don't see how we can, that's my point too, is I didn't say anything, but I don't see how we can deny this. And I agree with Josh that I think it would be better to approve it with the additional restrictions that go on the land records. And yet, in 9 years, something may happen. I don't know, does a yurt last 9 years?
I think it'll last a long time.
It meets zoning code, so it's gonna be a sizable, formidable structure.
If this was a wood shed, right now, I bet you we wouldn't even have to be having discussion, we would have approved it.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with the structure, I think it has to do with the use, the human habitational use of the structure.
Well, he's restricted, but they're restricting that.
They're restricted, you know, if we deny it, it's restricted too.
No matter what, it's restricted. It's just whether or not we want it on
It's
the
just
land records.
whether or not we want to approve it.
No, it's whether or not we want this restriction to run on the land records to make sure, because they sell that house in 7 years, or in 5 years, and then the new owners get it, in 5 years, they're gonna come and they're gonna say, why don't we make some money on this? Why don't we put an apartment in here? And that's exactly what'll happen.
Reggie
We'll
will say
probably
that you
approve
can't
it.
have human habitation of.
No, she won't, because it's not on that, then you can come in for that application, and you can get that application, but if this was approved, Reggie could say, no, you can't have human habitation here, because look at this special permit that was approved.
Josh
Reggie,
is right.
Reggie, knowing what you know now about this, and he's got all his permits in place that he did before, are you gonna go out and pull his permit?
No,
I don't think
No,
so.
it
So
meets
how
the
can you
building
How are you
code.
gonna possibly deny it?
It meets the zoning
It has
code.
nothing to do with the structure. The structure's gonna stay there whether we.
The use, I'm talking about the use. They build this thing, they know what they're gonna use it for. He got all his permits in order, and he built it. Now, we don't know what the other people at yurts are doing, and they may be having, you know, a hotel there, who knows? You're not checking that. So you're not gonna pull his permit now because he applied, and you gave him a permit to have it, to have accommodations.
No, he
If
got,
he wants a guest, there's no reason why he can't use his room for guest purposes. Can't put him out of the driveway, because he can't go over this driveway.
but George, the statement that they submitted says they won't do that. Have you read that statement?
No, I just listened to what's going
All right,
on.
let George read that statement.
You wanna do
There
that,
it is.
Josh?
Well, I mean, they've already said it a few times.
Go ahead.
Structure has been, will be outfitted in a manner which supports occasional use and occupancy by humans. Will not be outfitted in a manner that supports or is intended to support use as an accessory apartment. Specifically, it is represented that the premises will not be used for overnight sleeping accommodations. Uses intended to fall within this statement of use include daytime and evening use of as a workshop, study, studio, and recreation room. There will be no running water nor any septic services on the premises. A refrigerator and microwave may be installed and permitted. Sofas and other furniture usually and customary to the use described above are permitted. No beds shall be permitted.
That's the
I
statement.
do believe I read this, I figured one of the attorneys said was allowable for guests. Had to be
No. Our regulation says accessory structures may be used for, and then it lists several things. Guest accommodations,
Guest accommodations?
offices,
Yeah. And what's your interpretation of a guest
studios,
accommodation?
accessory apartments.
Mhm.
But if you want to use them for those uses, you have to come to the commission for a special permit.
All right. Well, I wouldn't deny it, I'd tell him to come to the commission, you know, I mean, to the housing and get it approved.
Well, you should have seconded my first motion.
I got a second, yes. Not this time.
Any more discussion? So we're talking about a motion to deny,
And you have a second.
and we have a second. All those in favor of denying this permit, or the application, vote aye. All opposed?
Okay, I'll make another
Now
motion.
we're going to do another motion.
Motion carries.
Maybe we can get a second here this time to approve.
Deny motion failed.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for Johnson Lowe and Katrina Varzo for human habitation of an accessory structure at 4461 Durham Road, map 122, lot 23-3, as shown on application dated 4/29/16. This application is approved under the following conditions: that the bed, kitchen sink, portable water supply, pump, and wastewater collection container shall be immediately and permanently removed, and that the statement of use, which was submitted on August 17, 2016, be strictly adhered to. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with 273-36 of the zoning code. The special permit is effective on August 26, 2016, and applying with the town clerk.
Do we have a second?
George, this is the approval.
Second.
Okay. I would like to add, I'm wondering, one of the things that I heard that was, appeared to be a problem was the view of this building from the common driveway, is that correct?
That was one of the problems.
That was one of the problems, sir. So can we make it a requirement of this application that they do something? So what did they, that when they put this up, did they actually take down
Well, they
anything
have a-
along the driveway that
to get in there to do this?
I
So
don't
it-
know, they
so
might
it's-
have.
So it's always been open the way it is now, so you see the yurt stands out? in the-
I don't know, I wasn't there when it was built, but I can tell you that it is built on ledge. It's built
So
on
what
ledge
about
rock.
if we make it a condition of approval to get rid of the parking lot that they have put in off the driveway that they can't have the use of? That would,
Well, I mean, to me, that's the only,
How can you limit that? What would our condition be?
well, you can't,
Refrain from parking?
you probably can't do that completely, because if there was a fire there, you'd want the fire department to be able to get in there. I just wonder if there's a way to further buffer it without a lot of expense, so that it isn't so noticeable.
Well, I mean, I think that maybe allowing the natural habitat to regrow.
You want landscaping?
Yeah, well, landscaping we could always require.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
You want them to try to get trees to grow?
Phil has a valid point, like if someone's working at night and they can come back and sleep during the day, human habitation doesn't just happen at night, sleeping, you know, if someone's on the opposite schedule.
I guess well.
So what would you like to recommend, Phil?
I'd just throwing it out, it's a slippery slope.
You're saying that human habitation is what?
You know, we were talking about if they leave the lights on all night, if they have people sleeping at night, we were all thinking in the context that we have day jobs and we sleep at night. But what if someone works at night or, you know, runs a restaurant till 2 in the morning and then, you know, comes in near dawn and sleeps all day? Is that human habitation?
I mean, I think that the whole concept, first of all, this application is approving human habitation. I think what we're doing is we're making it so that they cannot have overnight guests. And my interpretation of the definition of overnight guest is someone being there from night until the morning. That's my interpretation.
How does that make sense?
What do you mean, how does that make sense?
Supposing someone works at night and they go there and sleep during the day. You know?
They used the word overnight, they didn't use the word day, night. I mean, overnight is a very clear word. I mean, if you'd like me to, I don't think that.
Can we phrase it in a way like saying that shall not be used as residence for?
Well, let's read what they said. They said, "It will not be outfitted in a manner that supports or is intended to support the use as an accessory apartment. Specifically, as representatives premises will not be used for overnight sleeping accommodations." So if somebody wants to sleep there from 5 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m., I guess that this does not prohibit that. But I think that if we denied this application and someone was sleeping there from 5 a.m. until 8 p.m., I don't think that there would be any recourse either. The only purpose of the approval of this application is just to limit the future use of this site. That's it.
How would you actually, you know, the real meat and potatoes rule, how do you enforce that?
So when they come to Reggie in 9 years to say, we want to make an application before you, which they would have an absolute right to do, to turn this accessory structure into an accessory apartment, Reggie will say, oh, no, you can't. You have to go get a variance first. Then they would have to go get a variance if they wanted to, and if they were to receive that variance, then they could come to Reggie and say, here's my variance. Otherwise, without the approval of this, Reggie would say, yes, sure, come, we'll schedule a special permit hearing for you. So this makes it, I don't know how much it costs to get a variance these days, maybe between the application fee and an attorney, $3,500, $4,000, give or take. So it adds $4,000 to the process and the chance that the variance doesn't get approved. That's all that this does. Whereas otherwise they wouldn't have that. And they're going to use it the way that they, I mean, in the practical sense, if we deny this, they're going to continue to use it. They're not going to take down the structure. They don't have to take down the structure.
Very bad situation.
Okay, boss.
Well, I still want to go back to my issue, which was somehow further buffering this from the common driveway that people are using. And you suggested maybe some landscaping or something like that.
Well, because it's very high.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ledge rock and then it's on top of ledge rock. The only way that you're gonna buffer it from sight is to put up some kind of,
There's no reasonable screen that you can put up that's gonna hide it.
well, pine trees or something like that.
Well, either way, I guess I'm inclined to vote for approval of this with the stipulation that Josh has crafted, or that the attorney crafted for now, because I think this is, I don't think there's any win here, one way or the other. It's already there.
There are 1,000 reasons why we can and probably should deny this, but I think the best reason why we should approve it is to protect in the future the citizens of that area from having an apartment on their, in their neighborhood in an R8 zone on a very small parcel. That would bother me more than human.
Tom, why don't you make the motion, we'll go forward.
Well, we do have a motion.
Yeah.
He read the motion,
Well,
so.
I thought we voted on it.
Second, yeah, so he wants to call the question.
Okay. So, any further discussion, because this looks like we're at a deadlock here. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
No.
And this includes the stipulation, right?
Yeah, oh, okay.
So we got 3 for, and 2 against. Okay,
Next,
let's move on.
We're not doing Casella, right? That's
Not right.
So you got Edwin and
So I
Albert.
guess we're on to, what are we on to? We're on to site plans at this point, right?
Correct.
Edwin Alberg, 98 Fair Street, map 46, lot 39, zone PV, site plan revision, change use of detached post and beam structure from wood shop showroom to an 1,800 square foot, one-bedroom apartment. Receive and take action.
Yeah, this is that 3-story building right on the corner of US Route 1 and there.
It's the 2-story building next to it, that's next to Al Jacobs.
Oh, on the other side.
It's a small, it was used as a
Okay.
workshop showroom and whatnot.
So you are, sir?
Edwin Olberg, 98 Fair Street.
Okay, would you like to?
I was basically going to say everything that you just said, was I'd like to it's been used for a showroom and a workshop, and it's walking distance to the Guilford Green, so it'd make an excellent one-bedroom apartment. It's a beautiful post and beam structure. That's what I'd like to do with it.
But you have a layout of the apartment with your, and if you don't, we have one in the
I don't know
file.
what's going on here, because I don't, it's not in the packet.
Okay, all right.
I have a motion.
We have it here.
Oh, this is mine. See this? See this little show? Yeah. You have septic system?
Yes. Yep, it's all been approved by Dennis Johnson, and, we looked at it.
Does that have to go to the historic district?
It's just outside, I think. Is this in
There's
the
a
historic
This
district?
is the layout of the apartment.
Here's a letter.
That's all we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no map here.
Where this is
It's
what.
gonna be what?
Two-story.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's more than one apartment, right?
No, just one.
Just one of the
large-
2
a large
stories?
kitchen. 2 stories, it's a 20 by 45, so it's 900 square foot on the first floor, 900 square foot on the second floor.
Do you have outdoor stairways or into?
No, but 2 staircases inside,
In-
has
in
3 doors
interior.
to the building, 2 on the driveway side, and 1 on the back, so there's lots of access.
And we do have a letter from Dennis here saying that there's, this was dated August 15th, the application's existing wood shop building, which is proposed to convert to a one-bedroom apartment, currently has a septic system which is adequate in size to accommodate the anticipated water flow. It is recommended that the application's proposed site plan revision be approved. That's from Albert. That's from Dennis Johnson. Okay, do we have a motion?
There is one, I can read it. Proposed motion, Edward Alper, 98 Fair Street, map 46, lot 39, zone PV, site plan revision, change use of a detached post and beam structure from workshop/showroom to an 800 square foot, one-bedroom apartment, section 273-47, that voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan revision for Edwin Alberg to change the use of the detached post and beam structure located at 98 Fair Street, map 49, lot 39, zone PV, from workshop showroom to an 1,800 square foot, one-bedroom apartment as shown on a drawing dated 8/11/2016. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code.
Any more discussion on this?
Reggie, why can it be more than 1,000 square feet?
No, this is not an accessory apartment. This is in a commercial zone.
Oh, it's in the commercial zone.
It would only, it would, if it were an accessory apartment to a
Make a really big
single-family
kitchen.
dwelling, it would be different. This is in the PV zone.
Okay.
All set? Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next is 13 Summit Suite LLC.
Congratulations.
2455 Boston Post Road and 27 Westlake Avenue, map 84, lots 28 and 29, TS2 Building A, site revision plan, change retail office use to 3 residential dwelling units. Receive and take action.
Good evening, gentlemen. Jeffrey Beatty for the applicant, 25 Boston Street. You may recall we were here in front of the commission last month for a site plan modification. That application was for converting this building, Building B, on the site plan from commercial medical office space to 2 condominiums, residential condominiums.
Yeah, right.
And I think at the time I mentioned that we had a variance application in with the ZBA to allow the number of residential units permitted as of right on the site to be increased from 11 units to 14 units. So there's 9 townhouse units which had been previously approved by the commission, and then last month with the approval of these 2 units, it was increased to 11. We were able to obtain the variance from the ZBA on the 27th of July, allowing us to get 14 residential units on this site. So we're back here tonight for a second modification. Well, it's my second modification that I'm presenting to you, following up on what we did last month to convert this building, which is already in existence, from a commercial building into 3 one-bedroom residential units. I believe that there's correspondence to the commission from Dennis Johnson and possibly from the engineering department also with regard to this application.
I could read that letter.
That'd be great, thank you.
This is from Dennis Johnson. It's dated August 16th. And the applicant's proposed building and site plan revisions will add 3 one-bedroom condominium units to the total residential complex. Engineer plans dated April 7th, 2008 by Anderson Engineering and March 18th, 2016 by Frank C. Magnotta have been approved for the sanitary system and will accommodate the additional wastewater design flow. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed site plan revision be approved with the following condition. Prior to issuance of a certification of occupancy for units A1 through A12, the property owner shall establish a septic system repair and replacement escrow fund in accordance with the Water Pollution Control Authority Regulation Section 228-20 of the Town Code. You don't have a problem with
That's
that?
acceptable to the applicant.
All right.
We do have another letter in here, I think it's the same, 1445. This is from Wayne Dietrich, the Assistant Fire Chief. This is referring to the same property, and it says, after the Tuesday staff meeting and review, this is dated the 17th. After the Tuesday staff meeting and review of this latest site plan for 2445 Boston Post Road, 13 Summit Suite, the Muse Guilford Fire Department would like to renew concerns of any landscaping trees that may be established in or around the islands in front of the townhouses. Previously, Guilford Fire Department has raised concerns over the potential height of plantings that are likely to interfere with Guilford Fire Department aerial laddering for victim rescue and tactical operations involving the upper levels of the structure. The site plan has not specifically identified the planting types in this area. I ask that the Planning and Zoning Commission consider this recommendation from Guilford Fire Department to prohibit tree plantings between the parking lot and the building, or tree plantings in close proximity to the building in order to provide visibility, accessibility for the Guilford Fire Department aerial ladder operations. Please feel free to contact me with any questions.
I don't think that the applicant has any concerns with that, with any restriction that you might have with regard to height of the trees in the end.
So
And I
you-
believe, I've just read this, so I believe what he's speaking about are these islands here between
Yeah.
the townhouse units.
Is
It's
there
not
any
on, it's not on the
landscaping
entire site.
plan for this now?
I believe there was a landscaping plan submitted when the proposal was originally approved, and we haven't changed any of the landscaping.
So we don't know what they've got called for planning here?
We looked at the plan and didn't tell us what tree species was called for, but in view of the comment from the assistant fire chief, I think that you can ask that the trees be substituted with shrubbery, and that would still give the greenery.
So our condition would be that the trees show on the original approved plans by units A1 through A9 be substituted with shrubs. Is that okay?
That'd be fine. The other thing that I would like to point out, and this is I don't know if you've got correspondence from the engineering department, but they had been in contact with my clients, and after the last, the application to modify the site plan for these two units, they had requested that we install a turnaround area. There's a parking garage here, and the concern was that they didn't want the cars that might be parking here backing out to Westlake Avenue. So we've amended the site plan to install this turnaround area here to give them an area to turn around and back out. So that's the other modification. It's not relevant to what this was, but we incorporated that suggestion made by the engineering department to improve the safety of the site.
Okay. So we've added the shrubs?
The shrubs in the islands and then...
Yeah, no, it's on there. It's on our list. It's on our conditions.
Okay. So what do we do now?
Well, are there any other questions? I'll read a motion if we're done asking
let's
questions.
do the motion.
We're happy to answer any other
All right,
questions or
I'll read a
comments.
motion. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan revision for 13 Summit Suite LLC at 2455 Boston Post Road and 27 Lake Avenue, Westlake Avenue, map 84, lot 28 and 29, is shown on the Muse Guilford Building. A modification for conversion of 3 residential units dated August 1st, 2016, and revived 8/9/2016, prepared by Frank Magnotta, PE. This application is approved with the following conditions. First, that the roof runoff from the impervious areas at 27 Westlake Avenue be piped and drained into the proposed stormwater systems to be located at the front of the property on Boston Post Road. 2, that the driveway sightlines be satisfactory to the town engineer. 3, that the trees show on the original approved plan by units A1 through A9 be substituted with shrubs as requested by the assistant fire chief. 4, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for A1 through A12, the property owner shall establish a septic system repair and replacement escrow fund in accordance with the Water Pollution Control Authority regulations, sections 228-20 of the town code. This application is approved based upon a finding that with the variance granted, it conforms with the zoning code.
Second, please.
Second.
Further discussion? No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Applications to be received, Ralph Gilardi, 228 Shore Drive, map 57, lot 71, zone R3, special permit, accessory structure on less than 10,000 square feet, 273-15, receiving set public hearing date for 9/7 to continue to 9/21.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Richard Durso, 340 Rockland Road, map 119, lot 1A, special permit and accessory structure in excess of 750 square feet to allow a 2,400 square foot garage. 273-15.
So moved. Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Neil Dinnerman, 2631 Durham Road, map 105, lot 2, zone R8. Special permit after the fact, accessory apartment 273-15. Receive and set public hearing date of 9/7 to be continued to 9/21 for mandatory second public hearing.
I'd like to make a request on that. And that's that we at least seek to find out if in advance of our consideration of an after-the-fact application, that any applicable building permits are taken out. I kind of have a problem with approving after-the-fact applications for construction that have not been permitted and have not been inspected. Okay? Is that possible, Reg? I mean,
What do you want them to do?
take out a building permit, if in fact one would be required to do it.
All right, he may have to anyway.
Right, but
It's in
as
rough
we've
shape.
learned from other circumstances,
Can they take out a building permit though before we grant?
no.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, if we approve it, they don't have to take one out.
So, so they are allowed to take out a building permit today?
Sure, you can always apply for a building permit, and what that does is it then I think if anything, it makes it a lot easier for us to say, you know,
Isn't there
this is
a
compliant,
requirement?
this is safe, it makes it easier for us to say yes.
Isn't that a requirement anywhere now?
Nope. No, so if someone came to us with an after-the-fact application for 2 apartments, and we approve it, there's no impetus, or it's actually to their advantage to not take out a building permit.
So how can we, is this just a conversation that you're gonna have, Reggie, with the applicant, say you have to take out a building permit before the 9/7?
The code doesn't require it.
So is that
Have you
something that we
suggested?
need?
No, but I guess if we ask the applicant.
Because whether it requires it or not, we could deny this, right?
Should this be something that we have the zoning committee add a new, or the planning committee add a new regulation for after-the-fact permits, all
I can tell you,
applicable
on
codes?
future after-the-fact applications, I'm going to suggest that we give conditional approval to anything we approve for 6 months, subject to them taking out building permits to make sure that they're safe for the occupants, safe for the neighbors, and that they meet our code.
Why don't we just change our code and make them take it out beforehand? That
That would be
yeah,
nice,
that'd probably be the
but there's a
best
whole
thing to do.
reason why they're doing them after the fact.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What is that
So
reason?
Because they get away with it.
That should be something
I
that,
think Chuck, George talked about having a workshop with Chuck.
yeah, on the
And-
21st.
Yes, and this was going to be discussed,
Okay, well, that-
amongst
some
other
guidance.
things.
But I think what Phil suggested, in this case, why don't you suggest to them, that it would probably make it easier for them, but dealing with the Planning and Zoning Commission to apply for a building permit.
Well, the apartment's in rough shape. He probably will need a permit, so I'll just
Just
ask
tell
him to
him to-
take
tell
one
him to do
out
it.
now.
And we could also add that as a condition, maybe in our motion, should be prepared to have that as a condition, if they don't comply with.
Or that
the
there,
request.
any approval.
Because we have to receive this today.
But that's the issue, is whether we have the right to do that or not. That's why we want to talk to Chuck about this.
We'll find out.
That's all we're doing. I make a
Okay.
motion, we receive it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. Coastal Area Management Site Plan, Jack Schaefer, 146 Daniel Avenue, map 10, lot 163, zone R2. Coastal Area Management Site Plan, repair existing seawall above coastal jurisdiction line.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's going to be scheduled for 9/7.
That's after the fact, too.
Oh, well, do they have all the permits?
Wait a minute, this is build a wall.
Repair existing seawall.
So they already did it, in other words.
Well,
No, they were stopped before they finished it.
So they're halfway.
So they're started it.
It's
Well, I mean,
half done.
in fairness, some people don't really know. I mean, this is a stone wall, and as a matter of fact, probably there's a lot of stuff because of the hurricane damage that people just went ahead and fixed, not knowing that they needed to have a permit to do it.
Right.
You're a kind soul.
You are very generous.
I don't think everybody is devious about this, I really don't. I'm sorry, but anyway, so what are they, so they've been stopped now, so they would have to get a permit anyway?
Mhm. Yep, Michael Harkin's working on it with them.
All right.
And I think they had to get approval from Deep also.
Okay, so that's the end of those. Zoning amendments from the zoning committee. Proposed zoning amendments regarding definition of coastal resilient height requirements, 274-2, received and set public hearing date for 9/7.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
What is that?
That's basically to set regulations regarding new construction in flood zones.
Russ did this through the planning committee, they just, it's then went to the zoning, so it's already been like sort of vetted.
Right, so
twice
it's basically and there's actually a real benefit if in fact we approve these, because we can then become part of a preferred flood insurance program.
Yeah.
That is, it would be a significant benefit to any homeowner that has a flood policy, if we get approved through it. And basically, we're adding a height requirement that's not currently there, and potentially adding, a foot or two of freeboard on top of that, which is a good thing. I mean, people should know what they're getting into.
Good, I make that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Another proposed zoning amendment, this is coming from the zoning committee regarding pet boarding facilities, amendment to zoning code to add to table 5, line number 42, pet boarding facilities, C 273-22F, as a special permit use under the column I2.
So industrial too, they want to have pet boarding facilities?
Yeah, they made a really, I was there, they made a really good presentation on this.
Well, I guess that we don't in Guilford allow pet boarding facilities anyway, and so that's why they need to make this as a zoning amendment, and they have to, that's, I guess a lot of towns don't, and I think that there were reasons for it, but we'll hear about it, and we can make our own decisions on that.
Let's proceed.
Yeah, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Site plan.
New Manacabana LLC, 1004 Boston Post Road, map 46 lot, whatever, PV zone, site plan modification preceding to a 36-seat restaurant.
This is Anna's Temptations over in Yellow Building.
Okay,
Are we supposed to take action?
just to receive it.
No, you can't, they have to go to wetlands
All right, so we'll just receive it.
for
Okay.
septic.
There's a thing under committees, I do have, one of the things that I am trying to do is, Russ Campaign in this case, because he's chairman of the planning committee, has recommended people to be on the planning committee. And what I'm asking for tonight is because I would like to collaboratively work with you guys and gals about this. There is one that I've had for some time. I actually have a resume. You have the resume? And the one I would like to get approved tonight is for Janice Plazak to the planning committee. And this recommendation comes, as I said, comes from Russ, who is the chairman of that committee. And I thought it would be good for everybody on the committee to see the resume.
She used to be somebody here, right?
Yeah, she used to work for the town, I think. Did she do some consulting or something for the town of Guilford?
No, she was our,
She was assistant town planner for Guilford.
Yeah, assistant town planner for Guilford.
right, and she's a
1990.
town engineer in Madison,
Brantford.
or Branford, rather.
So she currently works, she lives in Guilford, she currently works for the town of Branford as the town engineer.
So Jim Portley's job in Brantford, basically?
Yes. She has a BS in civil engineering from UConn, Bachelor of Arts from Fairfield University.
I should have met this one.
Yep. She's eminently qualified. So with even though it's my job, I just wanted to pass this by you and say that
it's my recommendation that we put her on the planning committee.
Good job, Sam.
All right?
Thank you.
Go.
All right, the other two, I'm gonna hold off, because I just got these today, and I haven't looked at them, and I would like everybody to look at them, and we'll move on them.
Note the appointment, Janice, right now, you just have to say the words.
So I am appointing Janice Plasiak to the planning committee, and the other two we'll look at next time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
What about the bills?
There's bills, someone approved bills of $110.48 to Shore Publishing.
So moved.
Second.
Killing me
All in favor,
here. This
say
is why
aye.
our taxes keep going up.
No.
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence, request for the following events.
Excuse me, I forgot to tell you that this request is from the fairgrounds.
Oh, wait, we were gonna get a
Gil
list of
Lombard.
everything we approved.
This is it. This is 2017 starting out.
So this is-
2016 is all
So these are
set.
the first two for 2017?
Yes.
Wow.
So we got 5, 6, and 17, the Life Links race, and 6, 11, 17, American Diabetes Association.
Just, I don't have a problem with it, but on a going forward basis, when they're like adding it, it'd be nice to say, here's all the things that we've got already, and then put the new ones as a bolded item.
Gonna do.
So we're not just think we're having 2 events the whole year.
Well, okay, but understand that this is the first 2 events that have been submitted to her.
Right.
So next time, we're gonna see 4, if there's 2 more, there'll be 4 on this list. Correct?
2 or 3 months, there'll be 70 or 80 different events that they schedule. Stop it, just stop it. When are you gonna do that?
Okay, all right, anybody read the minutes?
I read them, they say, it appears substantially correct.
I will second that.
Okay.
If he's making a motion.
I make that motion that
And I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for your patience tonight, it's been a long meeting.
Mr.
Good job.
Chairman, inasmuch as there's no more business before this commission, I make a motion that we close the meeting.
All in favor say aye.
Denied, that means,
Thank you.
we get to keep going.
Good work, Tim. Hey, 10 after 11, good job.